Chapter 671, Behead. Chapter 671, Behead. The exterminating caves of the 36 ghostly spirits all disappeared. Yan finally reconnected with the blood vein ring and found 36 dim gray shadows in there. He knew they were the ghostly spirits. The blood vein ring had engulfed them all. The blood vein ring floated silently in the space of chaotic energy. A red light flashed, making it look like a strange eye, giving people an eccentric feeling. Nyaruwa held the ghostly spirit sword, standing there with a pale face. There was no divine light in his eyes anymore. The ghostly spirit sword had lost all the ghostly spirits. I was no longer a divine weapon anymore. Its power was reduced by 70% to 80%. Now, it was just a sharp, long sword with no aura or magical effects. Nyaruwa wanted to vomit blood. His throat felt irritated, which was a sign of extremely exhaustion. In the next moment, he would have no power. Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan were startled. They maintained a distance with the blood vein ring. They were afraid of that ring. It was terrible. The ghostly spirit sword was a divine-grade weapon. However, that ring had used around 10 seconds to make the exterminating caves disappear, washing away all the fluctuations of the evil energy. They all saw what had happened, but they weren't so sure still. They knew it was because of the blood vein ring, but they didn't know how it did that. Yan extended his hand and waved. The blood vein ring returned like a bird returning to its nest, falling in his palm. Yan put it on his finger. The inner world 5 devils dormant in his sea of consciousness suddenly woke up as if they had smelled delicious food. They followed his arm to get into the blood vein ring, then started to swallow the 36 ghostly spirits. Lately, the inner world 5 devils weren't the opponents of the 36 ghostly spirits. When they had just started the battle, the 5 devils had gotten hurt badly. However, 36 spirits were subdued in the blood vein ring. They couldn't even move. They could only shift in fear, not letting the inner world 5 devils engulf them. Yan could feel clearly that his inner world 5 devils, which had been created by negative energy, were quickly swallowing all 36 ghostly spirits. The soul energy of the ghostly spirits was drained rapidly. The wounded 5 devils had restored themselves, and their aura and energy surged vehemently. Nyarua's face turned ash-gray. He stood there motionlessly, as if he had lost his soul. Fear and despair swelled in his heart. "Kill him." Yan smiled brightly, pointing at Nyaruwa. Yang Tian Emperor's team screamed and swarmed over, surrounding Nyaruwa. Just like they were slaughtering a domestic animal, Nyaruwa was dismembered, being smashed into meat pulp. Without the ghostly spirit, Nyaruwa no longer had any bit of energy in his body, and the ghostly spirit sword had become a normal sword. He couldn't be a threat to Yan anymore. Yan quietly released the soul-gathering pearl, and a strange suction force emitted from the bead. Nyarua's soul at the second sky of True God realm trembled in the air just like a tipsy man, floating towards the soul-gathering pearl. Swoosh! After Nyarua's soul got into the dark bead, it then sparkled with a black light. It was the indication of abundant soul energy contained in the bead. Yan was joyful. He smiled, as he knew that with Nyarua's soul, he could let 4 or 5 people use the Creator's divine pawn breakthrough again. Nyarua's soul alone was enough to support that magical formation for quite a long time. At the same time, an enormous flow of essence chi in Nyarua's flesh body was gathering into streams of invisible energy, starting to roll into Yan's body. Acupuncture points all over his body swelled, as the negative energy hovered around him and didn't disperse. It looked like a white mist expanding for more than 10 meters in just a blink. He was covered with that white mist, and the others could only saw his figure vaguely. Lin Ming's heart fell. Her soft body now bore many cuts, and blood splashed everywhere. It was the work of the crystal beast. Since this beast was made of the top-grade essence crystals under the city, it could promote its power in the effective zone of the barriers and formations inside the city. These formations didn't hamper, but enhanced its power. Although a crystal beast wasn't Lin Meng's opponent, her wound was too severe, and she couldn't control the original universe returning cauldron. Lin Meng felt hurt and distressed. She could only dodge the attack as she didn't even have any extra energy to counterattack. At that point, she saw Nya Rua falling. She wanted to help him, but she had no means. At the moment when Nya Rua's body exploded, Lin Meng felt a deep resentment rising in her heart. Why did they have to mess with this brat? This was the first time she felt regret. Let's welcome the master of the Pure Land, who never ages. Let her see our warm hospitality, Shiyan said calmly, but his eyes were cold. However, Lin Meng seemed to have her heart hit, her face ashen. It was just a crystal beast, but it was enough to make her struggle so much. How long could she endure when Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan joined it? Yang Tian Emperor's group, of course, wouldn't regard Lin Meng. Hearing Shiyan, they immediately attacked her. Energies and secret treasures shot towards Lin Meng like a shower. Lin Meng was trembling like a willow catkin. Her wounded body was like a flickering candle in the strong wind that could get extinguished at any moment. Meteors chasing the moon. Shiyan gathered the power of the stars. Countless beams of starlight gathered in the void, creating a gorgeous flaming star tail. It made a beautiful curve in the air, carrying the intent domain of the eternal star, moving in the trajectory of the stars in the sky as it shot towards Lin Meng. At the same moment, he squinted, accumulating 3 flows of pure thoughts. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Sounds of weapons tearing the air echoed, but they couldn't see the weapons. 3 flows of cold and gloomy auras appeared. However, they weren't idle, and they could avoid the sensing of soul consciousness. Extreme anxiety arose in Lin Meng. She spat out a mouthful of blood, then started to urge her remaining power of the 3rd sky of True God realm one more time. A cold, jade-like sparkling stone chamber appeared next to her. It was made of her energy with pure aura, a little bit humid air, and refreshing atmosphere. It gave people an intent domain of a beautiful and quiet place. The attacks of Yang Tian Emperor's team were scattered when they touched the small jade chamber. The roof of that chamber was decorated with many strange and exquisite crystals as light rings rippled from it. Boom! The meteor hit the chamber shortly, making it tremble. This tremor made many crystals fall off the roof. Right after that, the 3 bone thorns, which were as sharp as the fang of a demogorgon, furiously thrust at the small chamber. Puff! 3 small holes appeared on the room. Lin Meng shivered inside the room as blood trickled from the corners of her mouth, rolling on her chest. After the strike, Lin Meng had used up her remaining energy. The energy of the 3 bone thorns had attacked her soul just like maggots entering her bones. She shivered in the chill. The pure thought she had struggled to condense vanished. She failed to connect with the original universe returning cauldron again. She could see the cauldron not far from her, but she couldn't summon it. Shiyan's attack happened precisely. Whenever she wanted to connect with the original universe returning cauldron, the most furious energy would forcefully tear her effort apart. Lin Meng's tough will was on the edge of getting shattered after several strikes. She couldn't even gather the hope to live. Eventually, she had a desperate thought of failure. When the warriors engaged in a battle, aura and will were the most important matters, much more than realms and powers. What Shiyan had aimed at were these 2 features. He had pushed the master of the Pure Land to the edge, giving her a feeling of defeat. When this feeling arose in her heart, Lin Meng's realm was affected. After several failed attempts, she seemed to be defeated. Lin Meng's over. After Qi Tian Oldie Longju had eaten more than 10 pellets, his face glowed gradually. He sat upright in the city center, facing up to watch the battle over there. Her realm started to get disordered. The realm of a warrior is his root. It's connected to the host's soul, and it shouldn't be shaken easily. Her aura, qi, and soul energy are all exhausted. The formation has affected her. Her soul got damaged in that mental challenge. And now, as Shiyan's bombarding her, her conscience is torn. Yang Shui, Chao Jilan, and Long Ying didn't understand it at all, but they were surprised. Long Ju beamed a smile and then explained. Simply put, what Shiyan has destroyed are her innermost feelings. A warrior with a strong inner world won't be affected by pressure during fighting. Once her inner world is broken, the others can subdue her. At that time, she can't perform her best magical attacks. Oh wow, that guy is so cruel. Long Yin was happy. Long Ju glared at her and harumphed, then said, "It's smart, girl. Only the smart ones can recreate a mental challenge from the opponent's inner world. Especially when he fights with someone whose realm's higher than his, he has to defeat his opponent's mentality first in order to win." Yunhao, Yuan Jiang, Bei Si, Bei Di, and Zhu Yi had crossed the crowd of the 7 ancient factions who were still sinking in the fighting mood to reach the outer area of the city center. Yunhao and Yuan Jiang exchanged looks. They leaped up, heading to the city center and raising their voices. Xia Qingho, Bai Zhensing, and the others were outside the utmost 8 purgatory city. Their powers had been drained in the purgatories. They couldn't get through the 8 doors, but it didn't affect their vision. They could see Shi Yan and Yang Tian Emperor's team were attacking Lin Ming furiously. Lin Ming would be killed at any minute. Yunhao and Yuan Jiang threw each other a glance and shouted, "Please show mercy." Shi Yan frowned from behind the gates of the utmost 8 purgatory city, then shook his head indifferently. Cut. A blood thread flashed on Yang Tian Emperor's left hand. It coiled Lin Ming's neck, then tied it tightly. Puff. Lin Ming's head fell off her white neck. From the flat cut, blood gushed out, shooting aloft. Chapter 672, We Believe in Old Long. Chapter 672, We Believe in Old Long. Qin Guchuan, Guanhu, Lu Miao, Yan Ko, and Wendi had broken their mental challenge. They finally reached Shi Yan's. At the moment they arrived, they saw Lin Ming being beheaded. Blood was still gushing out from her neck. Shi Yan waved his hand, releasing the soul-gathering pearl. When Lin Ming's head fell, he took in her soul. Yunhao, Yuan Jiang, and the others were dumbstruck on witnessing the scene. Lin Ming was dead. The owner of the Pure Land, the supreme master of the Pure Land in the divine Great Land, was beheaded. Everybody who had seen it got stunned. They stood motionless, not knowing what to do. Lin Ming's death was like a punch pounding on their hearts. This strike was hard to imagine. But it had happened. They couldn't help but believe in their own eyes. All of a sudden, everybody halted. The entire area, no matter it was outside or inside the city, was tranquil. Shi Yan was calm, retrieving the soul-gathering pearl. He was happy, wearing a smile on his face. He suddenly recalled the humiliation Lin Ming had given him in the Dead Soul Mountain range. She said that he didn't deserve Xia Xin Yan and that he would never reach her. It was all because Lin Ming was the big mountain standing in front of Shi Yan. And today, Shi Yan had destroyed this big mountain brutally. The others then saw the ghostly spirit sword floating quietly. It didn't have any spiritual chi anymore, turning into an ordinary weapon. Its strange, evil aura had vanished. Where was Nierua? Even Lin Ming was dead. Would he survive? The masters of the Pure Land and the Devil Valley, the 2 great characters of the divine Great Land, were both killed. It was impossible to accept. Seeing the black light sparkle from the soul-gathering pearl, Shi Yan couldn't hold his bright smile anymore. He laughed contentedly and said, "Fellows, if you don't have other business to do, I think you guys better go back to the ice and fire secret domain early. Otherwise, I'm afraid I will have to ask you all to stay here forever." Yang Tian Emperor looked at Xia Qingho. He saw the deep regret and despair on the other's face. After they had arrived in the divine Great Land, Xia Qingho had joined the Pure Land, as he thought that the Pure Land would be the place he could lay his future in. He had served the Pure Land with his best. Even at the most critical moment when the Yang family had to face the biggest danger, he didn't even send them any news. He was loyal indeed. However, Lin Ming was dead. The Pure Land didn't have a master now. Would it still be the leader of the forces in the divine Great Land? Everyone knows it was impossible. Without Lin Ming, the Pure Land had lost its soul. It was hard to reach the peak again. And Xia Qingho had lost his strong support. Shi Yan had broken his support. Return to the ice and fire secret domain? Yunhao forced a smile from a distance, shaking his head. "I've thought about it, but I'm afraid we can't go back now." Shi Yan was bewildered. He waved his hand, signaling Yang Tian Emperor's team to not be hurried. His mind flickered, reducing the power of the formations and barriers. What's going on? The 5 alien tribes have controlled the domain. There are traitors among us. Perhaps they would open the domain. I'm afraid that our fellows who are staying in there can't survive, Yunhao released a long sigh. The ones who didn't know this news became frightened. They were all dumbstruck. Qin Guchuan, Guanhu, Lu Miao, Yanko, and Wendi had their faces ash-gray. They felt as if there was a bucket of icy cold water that had been poured on their heads. The heat of anger was replaced by fear immediately. So, Shi felt funny. You deserve it. He looked at Qin Guchuan's group. Congratulations. Because you were stubborn, your families and friends have become the food for alien tribes. You guys are really awesome. Qin Guchuan's group shivered. Their eyes were bloodshot, as if blood tears would roll down at any minute. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to protect my little place here. It's good that my people are safe. Shi Yan's eyes raked through Yunhao's group and stopped on Xia Qinho and Bai Zhensing. The smile on his face became brighter. Precursor Xia, Precursor Bai, do you feel sorry now? You guys should have stayed in the city. However, you smashed your chance. Haha, interesting. Really interesting. Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao felt incomparably pleased. Xia Qinho and Bai Zhensing couldn't utter a word. Their faces were glum and grim as they thought that this was the biggest humiliation in their lives. Shi Yan. Yunhao's visage was solemn. Only your places considered the human clan's fort in the perpetual night forest. I hope you can consider the whole picture and let us in. Otherwise, we will have to stay in this forest and face the massacre of the alien tribes. Let you in. Shi Yan stroked his chin, frowning as if he were considering something. Yunhao and Yuan Jiang hastened to explain, wearing a solemn countenance, their hearts worried. Shi Yan. Qi Tian Oldie Longju didn't care that the medicines he had taken hadn't been effective yet, flying out from the city center. He shouted even before he had reached Shi Yan. You've agreed with me to preserve the flame of the human clan. The alien tribes have started their operation. For the future of human clan, you have to consider the whole picture. Yang Tian Emperor and Li Zhengrong didn't say anything. They were waiting for Shi Yan's decision. Qin Guchuan, Guanhu, Lin Meng, Yanko, and Wendi were all panic-stricken as they finally recognized that they were all wrong. Only Longju had a wide vision. It seemed he had predicted the changes and development of the current situation. People who stepped back 3 miles and have the cultivation base under the true God realm can come in. I'll try my best to protect you guys. Shi Yan pondered for a while, then said, Shuang Yuju and Lung Danqing and the people of the Ice Emperor City, Bei Si, Bei Di, and the people of the Banner family, Zhu Yi of the Wonderful Stone City, the Radiant God Cult, the Celestial Emperor City. And Fighting Union can get in now. The others who have believed in Old Long and retreated 3 miles, I will open the passage for you. However, you have to be under the true God realm. Then, Shi Yan's thought flickered as glowing passages were exposed. The others who don't meet the requirement shouldn't get in. If you don't care about anything and trespass our place, don't blame me for being ruthless. The ones who had their names called were cheered up. Long Danqing and Shuang Yuju were mentioned first. Their beautiful eyes reflected their ocean-deep affections. Their soft bodies slightly trembled, as they thought that their bitter persistence had been rewarded eventually. Yang Tian Emperor, Li Zhengrong, and Chao Qiu Dao stood at the passages. Thick energy fluctuated from their bodies. Oh, right, Lai Feng. Shi Yan patted his head as Bing Qing Tong had reminded him. He smiled, looking through the crowd of warriors to find a cold, arrogant figure. Lai Ji, long time no see. How are you doing? Although Lai Feng was the master of the Devil Valley, his position wasn't high enough. He had to stand behind Yunhao and Yuan Jiang. Some elders of the Devil Valley also stood in front of him. Of course, he couldn't step forward. Lai Feng heard his name called and was surprised, but he shook his head smilingly. I should go with them. No matter what, I'm a member of the Devil Valley. You killed my teacher, so we are enemy. I can't receive your favor. Shi Yan was stunned, looking at him. He nodded and then said, I understand Lai Ji has your limit. All right, I won't ask more. Then, he extended his hand, pointing into the void. The ghostly spirit sword floating next to him turned into a beam of light, shooting towards Lai Feng. This ghostly spirit sword has no more ghostly spirits. But it's the Devil Valley's divine weapon anyway. Because of Lai Ji, I'll return it to you. If you can refine the ghostly spirits one more time, this divine weapon can be revived. Lai Feng grabbed the ghostly spirit sword, his face complicated. He couldn't help but sigh. Sure Yan, how about us? Yunhao beamed a forced smile. Yunhao is in the true God realm. Besides him, Yuan Jiang and the other masters of the small forces were all at the first sky of true God realm. Although they didn't go against Shi Yan, their realm was high, so they didn't meet the requirement. The masters of the small forces looked at Shi Yan, waiting for his answer. Shi Yan's face was solemn. He clasped his fist and then said, Fellows, your realm is high enough. If I let you in, when something happens, it's hard to keep the city from shaking. If you want to get in, you have to help me with one thing to show that you don't have other thoughts. What's that? Yuan Jiang yelled. Those people, Shi Yan pointed at Qin Gu Chuan, Guan Hu, Lu Miao, Yan Ke, and Wen Di. They're my enemies. As long as you attack them, you are my friends. I won't be worried about you standing on their side, or that you will let them enter the city later. This was a malicious move. When one sought refuge, one must show their loyalty. Although Yunhao and Yuan Jiang's group didn't get along well with Qin Gu Chuan's group, their relationship wouldn't be so bad that they would kill the others. However, if Yunhao and Yuan Jiang attacked them at this moment, this resentment wouldn't be solved easily later. And only that way would make Yunhao and Yuan Jiang stand on the opposite side to the others. Then, Shi Yan wouldn't need to worry about them, as they wouldn't stop him in the name of saving the human bloodline. Shi Yan wasn't afraid of warriors under true God realm. Even if they wanted to betray him, he could kill them easily. However, if he let the true God realm experts like Yunhao and Yuan Jiang enter the city when they had other thoughts, even if he were the owner of the utmost 8 purgatory city, he couldn't pay attention to them all the time. The city center was where he had set up the critical control formations and the energy source for the barriers, formations, and restrictions. If they didn't prove themselves, Shi Yan would never let them in. He must be careful. Yunhao's group was startled. Qin Gu Chuan, Guan Hu, and the others were enraged. The flame of anger in their hearts was ignited instantly. Yuji, you guys still have another option. Qin Gu Chuan gritted his teeth. Join us. Kill Shi Yan and his people. Then, we will occupy the city and control it to counter the alien tribes. How about that? With you two, it's not tough to kill this kid. Yan Ke and Wen Di also advised them to believe in the 7 ancient factions, since Yunhao's group wasn't a small force. If he joined the 7 ancient factions, Shi Yan's group would find it hard to withstand. Sorry, but we believe in Old Long. Yunhao pondered for 10 seconds. After a silent period that could almost suffocate people, he said all of a sudden. Abruptly, Yunhao, Yuan Jiang, and some other true God realm warriors started to launch their attacks towards Qin Gu Chuan, Guan Hu, Lu Miao, Wen Di, and Yan Ke. Chapter 673, Hundreds of Flowers Blossom. Chapter 673, Hundreds of Flowers Blossom. Yunhao and Yuan Jiang were at the second sky of true God realm, the same realm as Qin Gu Chuan, Guan Hu, and the others. For other masters of the small forces joined them, who were at the first sky of true God realm. As soon as they moved, Qin Gu Chuan's team felt chilled, but the flame of anger was burning inside them. They felt betrayed. Yunhao had been with them all the time, even though he wouldn't help them. However, they had never thought that Yunhao and the others dared to attack them. Qin Gu Chuan and Guan Hu had broken that mental challenge. They came here from the gates of the utmost 8 purgatory city. When they reached this area, all of them had been damaged badly. Their souls and essence chi was lost by a big part. Qin Gu Chuan had many visible wounds, which were as severe as Niarua. Normally, if Yunhao and Yuan Jiang wanted to approach Qin Gu Chuan's group, they also had to break the mental challenge and go through the gates. But it didn't happen the same way. Shi Yan was the master of the utmost 8 purgatory city. He could control everything in this place. When his sea of consciousness changed, the city would change accordingly. When Yunhao and Yuan Jiang took action, Shi Yan just cracked a smile. A flow of soul energy rolled, and a wide, safe passage appeared in front of Yunhao's group. As Yunhao's group could skip the gates, they didn't need to struggle mentally. Eventually, they approached the 5 people of Qin Guchuan's group without a break. Moreover, 6 people of Yunhao's team were covered in the halo of the utmost 8 purgatory city seal. This seal floated above them, illuminating their bodies. This seal protected this group from the effects of the barriers and restrictions here. In other words, their energy wouldn't be weakened, as the barriers and restrictions of the city wouldn't affect them. They could always urge their power to the acme. Even the chaotic energy that Qin Guchuan's group had experienced had become normal under the light of the utmost 8 purgatory city seal. Yunhao's group didn't feel their essence qi stagnate in their bodies. 6 people of Yunhao's group were stirred up, while the 5 of Qin Guchuan's group grimaced. Anxiety rose in their hearts. If it were a normal battle, the 6 people of Yunhao's team were no match for Qin Guchuan's team. The 5 people of Qin Guchuan's group were at the 2nd sky of True God realm each, while the 4 masters of the small forces were only at the 1st sky of True God realm. However, in the utmost 8 purgatory city, Yunhao's team wasn't affected. Quite the contrary, the 5 experts of Qin Guchuan's team had been damaged a lot under many restrictions and barriers. Under these circumstances, their realm and power weren't equal to Yunhao's team. Yunhao's team had the upper hand right at the beginning of this battle. When the light of treasures and different kinds of energies bloomed radiantly, Shi Yan felt calm, beaming a relaxed smile. It was unknown when Qi Tian Oldie Longzhu had come to him. Longzhu's face was glowing healthily. His eyes could show his spirit, but his aura wasn't profound and torrential as it was before. Apparently, the old man hadn't recovered fully yet. Shi Yan, do you have to do this? Longzhu's countenance was complicated as he sighed. Qin Guchuan's team's also human. You've asked Yun how to fight them, which isn't different from wearing out the force of the human clan. The alien tribes are still out there. I think it isn't good. Young Tian Emperor frowned, but he didn't say anything. Li Zhengrong, Di Shan, Bingqing Tong, and Han Shui kept silent, looking at Shi Yan. Qin Guchuan's team wants to kill me. I'm not going to let them in. About Yunhao. I just need them to be on the opposite side to Qin Guchuan's team. They don't need to risk their lives against them. In other words, I'm worried that they can't be determined at the critical time. If so, when we fight with the 5 alien tribes, I can't be more certain. Shi Yan paused, kept silent for several seconds, then said, Old Long, your wounds can't be healed that fast. Please come to the city center and watch over it for me. If something unexpected happens, please notify me early. As for this place, just let me handle it. I will arrange things properly. Longzhu beamed a forced smile and nodded. He knew the young man was determined, so he returned to the city center without talking more. After he left, Shi Yan's thought changed constantly. Flows of pure soul energy turned into countless invisible beams of light, scattering everywhere. Passages glowed radiantly just like the doors of God, extending outside the city to make way for the other people. Lung Danqing, Shuang Yuzhu, Zhu Yi, and the others smiled cheerily, following each other, walking in the light passage. From different passages Shi Yan had created, they entered the city from the secret corners. People who came here to act against Shi Yan like Xia Qingho, Bai Zhenseng, Feng Xiao, and Xuemu had their face gloomy and agitated. Some of those people hastened to get on the light passage to enter the city center. However, when those people stepped on the light passage, it then divided into different sections. Their section would explode shortly, leaving them as a pulp of meat. At this moment, Shi Yan smiled coldly, his mouth as sharp as a saber. His face gave people a deep fear, making them shiver. I told you. If you don't meet the requirements, you should wait outside. Otherwise, you'll die sooner. His eyes raked through many people, falling on Xia Qingho, Shenlin, Dong Jin, and the warriors who had betrayed the Yang family. Headmaster, please spare us. Xin Lin and Dong Jin struggled from the crowd. Many warriors who used to belong to the Yang family kneeled down, begging, Master, please let us in. We were muddled. We are F*King A** Shoals. Please spare us. A warrior pounded his head on the ground, crying pathetically. He was like a stray dog, as he kept begging for Yang Tian Emperor's mercy. Xin Lin and Dong Jin screamed continually. Headmaster, we've been fighting for the Yangs for so many years. Even if we don't have merits, you've seen our efforts. We've made mistakes this time. We swear we won't repeat our mistakes. Everybody knew that the forest was no longer the same. Seeing Lin Meng and Nia Rua being killed, they all were awakened. Everybody understood that they had underestimated Shi Yan's team. When they found that the alien tribes had blocked the ice and fire secret domain, they knew it was a serious mistake they could never make up for. They couldn't go back. In the perpetual night forest, only this city was considered safe. If they could get there, they would be safe for now, and they could even dodge this calamity. People who couldn't get in would be pitiful. The pagans would kill them shortly. Everybody feared death. Even if they were hostile at first, when the time came, they would show their real colors. Xin Lin and Dong Jin were the ones who had betrayed the Yang family. They had joined the alliance because they were afraid of death and the massacre of the alien tribes. But now, they wanted to return, begging for Yang Tian Emperor's mercy. You sons of B***itches that never learn, Yang Tian Emperor cracked a sharp smile, then shook his head and said, I've said it earlier. If you leave, you should never come back. You know how I am. Don't waste my time. After this, if the alien tribes haven't killed you, I will do that. His words were no doubt a death sentence for them. Yang Tian Emperor was the hero of the Endless Sea, but he was also cruel. How could he be a merciful person? Xin Lin, Dong Jin, and their people were ash gray. Deep despair appeared on their faces as they felt helpless and vulnerable. Shi Yan's eyes scanned through those people. Suddenly, he was surprised as his watchful eyes stopped at a spot. Wei Zhai and a dozen of warriors of Yanku and Wendi's team were bewildered as they thought that Shi Yan was looking at him. After a while, they recognized his target. Wei Zhai and some young men turned away to look at the two beautiful girls behind them. They were stunned. They were He Qingman and Chu Yanqing. It was unknown if they had intended to make themselves the most beautiful flowers among this group. The two girls from the Endless Sea had their beauty exposed, as if they were blessed with divine light, glowing gorgeously. Although they were in this perilous place, there were many young men beside Wei Zhai who drooled while looking at the two girls. He Qingman and Chu Yanqing's beauty was shining gloriously. Strange light sparkled in their eyes as their hearts were filled with joy. He saw me. Finally, he saw me. The two girls screamed in their hearts. You two come here. Shi Yan was surprised for a while, then nodded at them. A light passage glided over Wei Zhai's team, extending towards He Qingman and Chu Yanqing like the staircase to heaven. Everybody was stunned with an odd countenance. Turns out he likes this type. Some people muttered in the crowd. Many girls who deemed herself beautiful got cheered up. They hurried to expose their beautiful figures, waving at Shi Yan. Let us in. We will repay with our bodies. As long as you let us in, you can do whatever you want. They were some innocent teenagers, young girls, and mature women. They waved their hands, throwing him seductive looks. It seemed that if they got Shi Yan's eyes on them, it would be their biggest chance to get rid of this sorrowful area and gain the right to survive. Shortly, flowers bloomed everywhere. Their charming voices echoed continually. The battlefield suddenly turned into the stage of a beauty contest. The ambience became ridiculous. Chapter 674. I don't need them. Chapter 674. I don't need them. Everybody misunderstood Shi Yan. People who knew Shi Yan had also heard about the ambiguous relationship between him and the 4 snow flowers of the Ice Emperor City. After this event, they thought that Shi Yan was lascivious. Shortly, the beauties got excited. There were many girls with different styles, but they were all stunning. They started to show their appealing makings. Some started to draw their eyebrows, the others loosened the belt that tied their ample bosoms. Some showed their cutest smiles, while the others started to take off layers of garments, exposing their mesmerizing bodies. There were several hundred gorgeous ladies with different attractive traits showing their most prominent features, throwing flirty looks towards Shiryen, as if they hated that Shiryen hadn't waved at them. Pick me. Look at me. I'm the most beautiful woman in our city. Me. Pick me. I'm a virgin. I'm all clean. I know many techniques. I'm sure I can bring you the pleasure that will make you forget everything else. Don't pick her. She's a damn SL*T. She's slept with many men. Choose me, I'm virgin. Many female members of the Pure Land, Heaven Temple, Martial Spirit Palace, Spirit Treasure Sect, and the Devil Valley were screaming boisterously. Both the sides became puzzled, their faces odd. Many young and middle-aged men became grim, as if someone had captured their wives or they were betrayed. Their wives, their women, and their lovers were screaming in that crowd. Many innocent, beautiful ladies in that group were the dreams of the other young men. However, they only dared to dream and would never have the guts to show their admiration or love. However, at this moment, their women suddenly became the cheapest SL*TS. They tried to show their beauty to earn a chance to survive. Many people got so indignant that they wanted to vomit blood or just faint from this humiliation. Nobody thought that Shiryan's small move could stir up such a reaction. He made many women crazy. They are compelled to do so. When they knew that the alien tribes had blocked the ice and fire's secret domain, and then they saw Lin Meng's death, despair had swollen in the bottom of their hearts, making them worried about their lives. If it weren't the essential time, who would mistreat themselves like that? The charming and seducing enticement of the women had pressed down the curses of the men. But those women didn't recognize it. Their beautiful eyes still gazed at Shiryen, and they were trying to expose their most prominent sexy features. They hated the fact that they couldn't jump in his lap and lay him down on his back. Those women understood that as long as they could get into the city center, they could survive. To survive, sometimes people had to put aside their moral ethics and pride. To gain a chance to live, everything would be cheap. I can give you much pleasure. Please pick me, I'm begging you. I can do everything. Any position you want. Pick me, please. My sister and I will serve you. We're still virgins. You men like that, right? My daughter and I will serve you. As long as you nod, we will be your female servants. I'm just 40. See, I'm not old. My skin is smooth and white. Look at my body, good enough, right? The crowd was still screaming and yelling. Many women were showing themselves and their bodies while trying to degrade the others. People outside the city gawked, as they were scared by the heat of those women's enthusiasm, including Shiryen. Looking at those beauties, seeing them trying to show their bodies to gain his approval, Shiryen had an awkward feeling. People did hear that a king had around 3,000 beauties in his palace. If Shiryen wanted, he just needed to nod or wave his hand, and those extraordinary, sexy women would come to him with great appreciation. He would never have to worry about his sex life for the rest of his life. Those women were all charming. They had practiced martial arts, but their bodies were great, with strong stamina and smooth, white skin. They were the best of the best. Those people would belong to him. As long as he nodded, they all would be his assets. He could enjoy a life of luxury, having everything just like a king. Shiryen was stunned, his face odd. Cough, cough. Young Tian Emperor tried some dry coughs to get his attention. He grinned quietly and then pretended to be calm. Little Yen, I know you like them. You've done so many things for us. If you want, Great-Grandpa will agree. Haha, young man, it's all right if you have good health, you know. I understand. Swoosh. Some enraged looks were thrown at him, making Yang Tian Emperor tense. The smile on his face became awkward. They were from Bingqing Tong, Han Shui, Chao Jilan, and Li Feng Air in the city. They looked at him as if they wanted to kill him. You're old, yet you don't feel shame, right? Han Shui cursed softly, her beautiful eyes icy cold. Shameless. Bingqing Tong shouted. She silently urged the Ice Jade technique as she wanted to attack Yang Tian Emperor. Yang Tian Emperor was embarrassed, trying to change the topic. I think it's too much. Although Shi Yan's strong, he couldn't call 100 women shortly. Bing Qing Tong's female group got a little bit better. I think 10 is okay. It will be exhausting if having more. At that moment, he felt the two flows of cold aura flood the area next to him. His smile froze on his face. Shi Yan, if you like them, just choose some you want. Look, they are crazy and excited. If you nod, they will agree to do anything. Sisters, daughters, and mothers, etc. I have no idea if you want to take them. Usually, Chao Qiudao didn't talk much. His eyes scanned the crowd, but he didn't spot the different state of Bing Qing Tong and Han Chui. The old man turned around and suggested seriously to Shi Yan. Great-grandpa, if you want to have someone to take care of you before you die, please do not talk much. Chao Zhilan said through her gritted teeth. She had murderous intention on her face. Chao Qiudao was scared. He suddenly got something, so he shut his mouth and didn't dare to talk more. Everybody was young once. Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiudao had a wild time when they were young. So, they thought Shi Yan would experience the same. Seeing many beauties offering themselves like that, they instinctively thought that he could accept them. The city center wasn't small. If Shi Yan wanted, he could keep some women with different styles. In the old man's eyes, it wasn't a big deal. As long as he had the competence, it wasn't a problem if he were a little bit perverted. Cough, cough. Shi Yan was embarrassed. He kept beaming forced smiles as he had some thoughts reflected in his eyes. Han Chui and Bing Qing Tong looked at him. Cold intention diffused from their beautiful eyes as they were eyeing him like resentful women. Shi Yan shivered. Their looks scared him. He couldn't help but raise his hand. I have no different thoughts. Seems like you know those two little girls. We can accept them. We won't allow you to mess around with the others, though. Han Chui whined in a low tone, her eyes gloomy. The four of us have been with you. Aren't we enough for you? I won't allow you to be with the others. Otherwise, I'm sure you can't live well. Bing Qing Tong blushed. With her watery eyes, she stooped shyly. She could never utter what Han Chui had said, although she had the same ideas. I didn't mean it. Don't overthink. Damn it. Those two perverted old men made you guys think too much. Shi Yan was solemn, as his face seemed to pretend to be somehow sacred. Women aren't my purpose. Having fun for a while is okay. But I'm not going to let my heart be touched by true love. What did you say? Bing Qing Tong suddenly lifted her face, her white teeth clenched, and eyes as sharp as swords. Don't you dare repeat it again. No, no, no. I didn't mean that. That does not include you guys. We've got through the calamity together. Of course, you guys are different. Shi Yan felt chilled as he cursed himself for not considering his words. He hastened to explain. Bing Qing Tong and Han Chui felt satisfied. They felt sweet in their hearts, smiling tenderly at him with their deep affection. Let those women find their way. I don't need them, Shi Yan imposingly swung his arm. Everybody, focus on bringing Qin Gu Chuan's team to heaven. Don't be careless. While he was talking, the crystal beast had opened its wide mouth and grabbed the original universe returning cauldron with his mouth. It then soared up to the sky and halted in front of him. He extended his hand, and the original universe returning cauldron flew out, falling into his palm. It flashed, disappearing into his storage ring. Boom, boom, boom. The original universe returning cauldron struggled grumblingly right after it got inside the storage ring. It was like a wild beast that wasn't imprisoned properly. It could escape in any minute. A wave of shaking energy emitted from the storage ring. It shook Shi Yan's soul a little bit, making his sea of consciousness surge. The original universe returning cauldron was the divine weapon of the Pure Land. Although it had lost its owner, this divine weapon had already gained intellect. The storage ring was struggling to constrain it reluctantly. Shi Yan's complexion changed. He took out the original universe returning cauldron and put it into the blood vein ring. The original universe returning cauldron was a divine tool with intellect, so it knew how to struggle. After it was put into the blood vein ring, it had released the resisting power. However, the blood vein ring emitted many layer-like translucent membranes of chaotic energy, covering the cauldron. The big cauldron became still. It seemed like it couldn't wiggle anymore. Shuryen was calm. Indeed, only a mysterious and magical thing like the blood vein ring could control the Pure Land's divine weapon and subdue it. Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, howling and screaming of beasts echoed from everywhere. Chapter 675, Marvelous Law. Chapter 675, Marvelous Law. Beasts followed each other, heading towards the city center from everywhere. Each of them was more than 100 meters long and had a tremendous aura. They were like moving clusters of dense energy, giving people a deep impression. Many warriors of the 7 ancient factions had a streak of deep fear in their eyes. They were petrified. They didn't dare to move, as they were afraid that the beasts would notice their movement and swallow them instantly. The perpetual night forest was the monster clan's territory. When Lin Meng and Nia Rua had first entered this area, they had advised their men not to provoke the beasts. When the beasts burst out crazily, they would be more dangerous than the other races. When these herds of beasts appeared one after another, warriors of the 7 ancient factions were frightened. As they didn't know the purpose of those beasts, they assumed that this wave belonged to the alien tribe's official invasion. Yunhao, Yuan Jiang, and the others temporarily stopped attacked Qin Gu Chuan's team. They all frowned, looking at the movement above their heads. Qin Gu Chuan, Guanhu, Lu Miao, and the others were distressed. They had many wounds on their bodies, some reaching deep to their bones. Their overall strength was stronger than Yunhao's group of 6. However, they got hurt getting through the mental challenge of the utmost 8 Purgatory City. In this area, they were suppressed by the formations and barriers, and they couldn't bring out their maximum power. Fighting with Yunhao's team, who weren't affected by the magical city, they had fallen into the disadvantaged situation. When the beasts appeared, they seized the chance and took a break. They adjusted their breathing and used the medicines to restore. Shuryen, Shuryen. Where are you? We're here to help you. Don't say we're not loyal. It's Xianming, boss. He didn't allow us to come. Blame him. It isn't related to us. Tell us who to kill. Just point at them. We will kill them for you without any hesitation. Yanlong, Shuilai, Glacial Armor Giant Alligator, and the 9-headed bird were screaming and yelling boisterously. Their voices shook the sky. Their level 8 subordinates roared and howled to increase their imposing aura. Suddenly, the beast's roars flooded the entire city, shaking many people. Some warriors even had their souls affected. The part of warriors who had already entered the city felt scared, and then happy when they heard the beasts roaring. The monster clan had come to help Shuryen. This finding had them shaken. They suddenly felt that this city was the safest place in this world. As long as they could stay in here, no pagans could harm them. The others who were left outside the city collapsed mentally, as despair rose higher in their hearts. They regretted that Shuryen didn't favor them and invited them into his city. Even the monster clan had a good relationship with him, so what else should he be afraid of? They were the monster clan, the overlord of the perpetual night forest. This force was always underestimated in the divine Great Land. Why did they trust Shuryen and come to help him? Everybody was scared and indignant. They scolded Shuryen for being shameless, joining the alien tribes. However, they were jealous of him that he could establish the relationship with the monster clan and have a strong support in critical moments. At this moment, everybody recognized that Lin Meng and Nia Rua's team, the leaders of the 7 ancient factions, didn't have a functional competence. They didn't know that they should cooperate with the monster clan in the perpetual night forest. Quite the contrary, they carried out the secret operation to hunt the beasts. They had created a grudge against the monster clan. Wasn't it finding a way to death? What are you here for? Shuryen faced up to look at them, his face bewildered. The fight is going to end. You guys came here to watch the fun play? Yanlong, Shuilai, and the other 3 were the 5 rulers of the monster clan. Hearing him, they started to observe the situation. The 5 leaders of the monster clan felt embarrassed immediately. Apparently, Shuryen wasn't the weak side today. He seemed to have gained the upper hand. The city center stood unharmed and was a great support to Shuryen's side. All of them had joined the construction of the utmost 8 purgatory city. They knew that this city, which was built in an empty space, was divided into 2 parts, the outer city and the city center. The defense of the outer city was much weaker than the city center. In other words, Shi hadn't used all of his tricks. He had some other forces he hadn't used yet. The ones who came to trespass the city had divided into 2 sides, and they were struggling with each other. Apparently, they couldn't threaten the city center. Those signs indicated that Shi side had gained the upper hand. Silverwing Sky Wolf scratched his gray fur clumsily. He was so embarrassed that he burst out indignantly, rolling his eyes at Yanlong while thundering. I told you. Shi has a tummy full of wicked intentions. How could he not be able to resist? Didn't I tell you not to be worried about him that much? You hurry my A**s. We couldn't help with anything. If you had listened to me and waited for a while until the other races came here, he would have known our best competence. You fools, we came here at the wrong moment. He doesn't appreciate us. Yanlong and Shui Lai got scolded. They were embarrassed and timid. They didn't dare to snap back, as they secretly regretted their actions and pondered whether they had come too early or not. The bystanders couldn't help but gawk. Especially people of the 7 ancient factions, they thought that they might get problems with their hearing ability. Since when did the monster clan become such an easy partner? Shouldn't those 4-legged morons ignite the fight right when they arrived? Shouldn't they get enraged and roar furiously when someone provoked them? Did they know how to joke or be embarrassed? Could the human clan and monster clan live in harmony like that? Even if they were stupid, from the conversation between Shi and the rulers of the monster clan, they could see they had a really good friendship, so much so that they could even mock and tease each other. Although the monster clan and human clan weren't like fire and water in the divine great land, they still had a discreet and continual fight. Humans would take risks and trespass the monster clan's territory. They would gain a benefit from the beasts, or the latter would swallow them. The 2 clans had never sat down together and talked in harmony. They wouldn't treat the other equally. But Shi had accomplished this hard task. He had established a friendship with the monster clan, becoming their partner in a real sense. They didn't have any resentment, and they could even tease each other, which overturned many people's thoughts. He isn't an ordinary person indeed. Haha. He can mingle with the monster clan pretty well. I don't know how he could do that. Lifeng of the Devil Valley grinned strangely, shaking his head. He's really dangerous. No wonder why he could stay calm while the 5 forces were attacking him. He does have cunning tricks. Perhaps his decision is correct. Old Long is right. The wind has changed. It's the trend of the development in the future. Other clans can live in harmony and survive in this land. It's the future. Old Long is the sage of our human clan indeed. We should have listened to him. Sigh, we were wrong. Yeah, Lin Ming's team was wrong. Times have changed greatly, but they were too conservative. As they don't want to change, they will be discarded soon. Different voices arose in the group of the 7 ancient factions. Seeing Shi and the monster clan join hands without any obstacles, they all realized the changes in the whole situation. They were finally awakened. In the city center, Chao Jilan, Long Ying, He Qing Man, Tang Yuan Nan, and the others faced the sky with astonishment. They admired and respected Shi. Moreover, they felt proud of him. Such an extraordinary genius. It was almost himself alone dealing with the 7 ancient factions in their civil war. He could even ask the monster clan to help him proactively. And they even had time to tease each other. All of this showed that he had controlled the entire situation. Nothing had escaped his plan. Following a talented leader with a wide vision like that in the current chaotic situation was the biggest happiness they could gain. I told you. When he was in the Endless Sea, he could tease the stronger warriors like a toy in his hand. It was the same when he came to the divine great land. This man always creates miracles. People can only act as he has planned. The others will play the minor roles in his script, or even be mere sacrifices. Tang Yuan Nan smiled strangely, shaking his head while talking to Zhu Yi, Ji Mu, and Yuing. Everybody nodded in agreement on hearing that. When miracles happened constantly, they weren't miracles anymore, as they just became the fact. Yan seemed to prove that all this was no miracle. It could just be considered a thing related to the distinct aura of his. All right, don't make noise. I'm just kidding. I'm glad that you guys came here, be it sooner or later. Seeing the 5 fools of the monster clan still quarreling with each other, Yan shouted impatiently. The fight hasn't ended yet. You came right on time. We can accelerate a little bit. Yanlong and Shui Lai had their eyes brightened. They opened their red mouth and asked excitedly, "Fight whom?" Yan rose his arm, pointing at Qin Guchuan's group. "Them. Kill them. We need to prepare sooner. Thinking about the 5 alien tribes gives me a bigger headache." "No problem. We're here." "Haha. I was worried we won't have meat to eat. These 5 look delicious. I like them. Haha." Shui Lai faced up the sky and roared. A thick, brutal, murderous aura shot straight into the sky. His flaming fur fluttered as he descended from the sky like a gold mountain and attacked the 5 people of Qin Guchuan's group harshly. Yanlong, glacial armor giant alligator, silver-winged sky wolf, and 9-headed bird also swarmed over. They weren't affected by the formations and barriers in the city, using their real beast forms like a bulldozer to knock everything down. They were showing the savage face of the monster clan. Yunhao and Yuan Jiang exchanged looks, then dodged instinctively, not daring to stay. "Run!" The sad look on Yen's wrinkled face disappeared. She shouted hoarsely, turning into a gray light and trying to escape. When Di paled on seeing her running away. He immediately used the escape technique to escape like a fish plunging into the pond. He disappeared shortly. Chapter 676. Destiny pronounces your sentence. Chapter 676. Destiny pronounces your sentence. Yan Kuan Master Wen ran away in front of so many people. The 2 recluses came from 2 different regions and wanted to maintain the eternal light of human clan. However, at the most critical time, they ran away. People felt it hard to accept this fact. They didn't want to believe in what they'd just seen. Also, at this moment, they finally realized who the real sage of the divine Great Land was, who was able to foresee everything. It was Qi Tian Oldie Longju. When this oldie came, he had expressed himself clearly that he would stay on Yan's side, which was the future of human clan. He was right. What happened had confirmed his prediction and vision. After Yan Ku and Wen Di left, Yanlong and Shui Lai's attacks would fall on Guanhu, Qin Guchuan, and Lin Ming. How could they endure it? Still, they had Yunhao, Yuan Jiang, and a person that hadn't attacked anyone yet. Yan. How could they engage in this battle? How could they wish to win? When their A*S, Qin Guchuan, Lin Ming, and Guanhu were like the flickering lamp that had run out of oil. Seeing Yan Ko and Wen Di escape, these 3 almost didn't think about anything but using the escape technique to run away as fast as possible. Yan hadn't had the time to react. The utmost 8 Purgatory City was simply a defensive formation. It didn't have a strong binding ability that was enough to prevent them from running away. Shortly, there was no enemy or target to aim at in the chaotic energy field outside the city center. Yanlong and Shui Lai screamed strangely. They were reluctant, walking back and forth restlessly. Their red eyes raked through the remaining people of the 7 ancient factions, as if they were watching their prey. The targets of these gazes couldn't help but collapse under this ordeal. "Hey, what should we do?" Even Yang Tian Emperor didn't know what to do next. Seeing Yan Ku and Qin Guchuan leave, their people felt dispirited, as they had no will to fight anymore. They started to run away discreetly. People who ran away all had a relatively high realm. Perhaps they were the elders or the main pillars of their sections. They used their power and escaped this place to save their lives. Xia Qingho, Bai Zhensing, and Xin Lin were in this group. Clean your sect. As for the others, you should arrange as you want. Yan squinted, then frowned and said. Yang Tian Emperor suddenly flew out. Chao Qiu Dao hesitated for a while, then shot out, aiming at the traitors of the Yang family. Xin Lin and Dong Jin were like wild dogs forced into a corner under the hunter's chase. They scattered, running for their lives in different directions. Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao stayed close to them. Chao Chiu Dao disappeared into thin air. Shi Yan knew that the old man was using Shadowless Path. Xin Lin and Dong Jin would have no chance to escape or survive. Yan Tian Emperor avoided Xia Qinghe's way of retreat. He was afraid that Shi Yan wouldn't feel easy to take action against Xia Qinghe. Also, Xia Qinghe wouldn't be killed that easily. If Shi Yan didn't want him to die, it wouldn't be easy to kill that old man. Xia Qinghe was Xia Xianyan's grandfather. If he died, Shi Yan and the Xia family would have a great dispute that would never be settled in peace. Yang Tian Emperor understood this. He also remembered his old acquaintance, so he didn't chase the other to a dead end. Shi Yan wore a cold and indifferent face. He didn't give any extra orders or chase after them. In his eyes, those people who couldn't get in the city would become the prey for the alien tribes sooner or later. Was anyone from Bao Ao's group nice? Would they show mercy and spare their lives? Leaving Xia Qinghe and the others in Bao Ao's hands was the most appropriate ending for them, which also helped him save energy. Many people didn't leave. The beautiful women were still screaming and crying, trying to show their most prominent features to catch his eyes. They hoped that Shi Yan would refer them and let them enter the city. Besides, many low realm warriors stayed. They were only in the disaster realm or the sky realm. They didn't leave because they knew they had to die if they left the city. They understood their ability well. They knew that when people like Feng Xiao left, they would still have a chance to survive. But if they left this place, they would be finding death themselves. Since their realm was low, their power wasn't sufficient. They couldn't even fly. In this immense forest, without the protection of a strong leader, how could they survive? Yan Ku and Qin Guchuan couldn't even protect themselves. When they knew they failed, they only thought about protecting their own lives. Should they give their lives in the hands of such leaders? They made up their mind quickly. No matter what cost it took, they have to stay. No matter what they had to pay, they had to gain Shi Yan's approval to stay. As long as they could get into the city, they could survive. They just wanted a chance to survive. Almost 1,000 beauties and low-realm warriors were looking at him with longing eyes. They tried to smile, bending their bodies and using the sincerest attitude in the hope of survival. You guys can get in. As for what I've said, please understand. I just want to protect the city center. It's my route. If something happens unexpectedly, I can't handle it. Shi Yan beamed a sincere smile and invited Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang. He was still a little bit ginger. We understand your worries. You're right. A leader of a small force at the first sky of True God realm bent to him, his face so friendly. You little brat, I can see that you used us to drain Guanhu's energy and made them dispirited. Yun Hao snorted. However, he smiled brightly, waving his hands. It's okay though. I'm glad that you've let the Radiant God cult's disciples enter the city. It's okay if you want to assign my dry skeleton. I just consider I'm devoting to my disciples. Yuan Jiang wasn't good at talking. He just smiled and said, seems like I've made the best decision. Haha. If I hadn't stayed 3 miles away, I'm afraid I would have to run away with Guanhu's team. Or, you would have been killed perhaps. Bing Qing Tong smiled, her beautiful eyes shining brightly. Yuan Jiang was shaken. He recalled Lin Meng and Nia Rua's consequences, and his heart chilled. He discreetly decided to be more careful in the relationship with Shi Yan. He shouldn't make any mistakes at any cost. Bing Qing Tong had reminded them that even if he used to be a leader of a strong force in the divine Great Land, under the current circumstances, he couldn't necessarily protect his life. Yuan Jiang suddenly understood that this world had changed, completely changed. It was time for the previous generation to leave the stage. He suddenly felt dispirited and begrudging, losing his enthusiasm. He felt that he had suddenly turned old. We are joining hands to resist a strong enemy. For the future of the human clan, I'm sincerely asking you to not have any extra thoughts. In the coming time, we will have to struggle even more. These are the times when we need to unite the most. Shi Yan was sensitive enough to catch Yuan Jiang's distressed mood. He put on a serious face, using an honest tone to talk to him. Brother, don't think much. If we can survive, we can do something for the human clan. If you have something that holds you down, you can't break through a new realm. Think about it, we've passed this challenge. Why should we let it hold us down? Yunhao patted his shoulder and comforted him. Yuan Jiang nodded while smiling. I understand. I just feel a little bit sad. Haha. Don't worry. People in our realm won't be taken down that easily. Then, Yunhao and Yuan Jiang walked shoulder by shoulder towards the city center. The imposing aura of valiant heroes emitted from them once again. People who were invited had all entered the city, while Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao were chasing after the traitors. As Bing Qing Tong, Han Shui, and Di Shan had nothing to do here, they returned to the city center to adjust their aura. They had consumed a lot of energy in killing Lin Ming and Nero. Although they didn't have the threat of the 7 ancient factions anymore, an even more dangerous force, the 5 alien tribes, were yet to arrive. They didn't dare to relax. They had to recover faster to counter the next wave of attack. At this moment, only Shi Yan and the people who hadn't left stayed outside the city center. They were looking at him with longing eyes, begging him. Those beauties didn't twitter anymore, as they knew that Shi Yan would soon give them his decision. His decision mattered for their lives. In this heavy moment, they quieted down, waiting for destiny to pronounce their sentence. Shi Yan rubbed his chin. He was hesitant, his eyes complicated. Those who were waiting didn't dare to breathe loudly. They were as silent as the dead. Some didn't even dare to look at Shi Yan, bowing in fright and despair. Shi Yan, you should leave a way out in every matter you decide. Longju started to show his mercy from the city center, his face sorrowful. Do me a small favor. Considering I have helped you save them. Qitian Oldie would always think about the human clan's future. All he had done was to protect the bloodline of the human clan. He didn't have any selfish thoughts. For this purpose, he could stay on the opposite side of Lin Meng, risking his life to save time for Shi Yan. He could even ignore his own life. He knew that when he said this, Shi Yan would feel unhappy, and it would affect their relationship. However, he decided to say it still. I'll give old long face then. Shi Yan finally spoke up after an annoyingly quiet moment. His voice was calm and relaxed. We can let them in. However, they have to pay the fee. Essence crystals, materials, and secret treasures. They have to submit us everything. I want to select something useful. We need to prepare to counter the alien tribes. No problem. Sure, we can give you everything. No need to mention essence crystals or anything. Even if you want my body, I can give you everything. They were cheered up. Those who had been waiting finally saw the light of hope. They screamed and shrieked as they were elated on finding themselves protected. Don't babble. After you get in, you should give the materials proactively. Don't waste our time, Shi Yan said with a cold face. He waved his hands, using his thoughts to create the light passage. Then, he walked to the city center begrudgingly. He didn't want to care about the stuff out there anymore. Managers like Yang Jue stood at the light passage with their pens and notes. They were ready to summarize the submission with radiant smiles. Chapter 677, Another Entrance of the Secret Domain. Chapter 677, Another Entrance of the Secret Domain. Ice and Fire Secret Domain. Inside the Grand Hall of the Pure Land, many warriors still stayed. They were anxious as if a fire was burning them. They were the people of the 7 ancient factions, including the Radiant God Cult, the Martial Spirit Palace, and the Spirit Treasure Sect. They were all gloomy and distressed. It's not good. The entrance has a big problem. Many warriors of the small forces have started to gather over there. I think they want to rebel. An elder of the Pure Land slammed his brows together as he was rubbing his hands constantly. He seemed to be very hurried. Standing next to him were the people of the Devil Valley and the Martial Spirit Palace. They were all frightened. Staying in the Ice and Fire Secret Domain were old people with low realms, far behind Lin Meng's team, who had left already. Those people were a blended group of many other smaller forces from everywhere. They wouldn't listen to the elders of the 7 ancient factions. The news of the blockade of the Ice and Fire Secret Domain had spread to the other side, which was like an ice cube melting in people's hearts. Everybody knew about the might of the alien tribes. Since the entrance was blocked, What should they do now? They had laid their hope in Lin Meng's team. They hoped that her team could find a solution. However, they'd been waiting for a long time, yet they had received no news from the world out there. They were all frightened at this moment. Unknowingly, more and more warriors of the small forces started to gather at the entrance of the secret domain, as if they wanted to go out. They didn't want to be like a fish in a tank, waiting for someone to kill them all. People of 7 ancient factions, who used to fight with the pagans, knew that they wouldn't take risks and fight face to face with the opponent. However, seeing the energy movement in the entrance become clearer as time passed, and no sign of Lin Meng's team returning, they started to feel hopeless. What to do now? Without their leaders, they were flurried and hesitant, not knowing what to do. Time flew while their worries augmented. Gradually, the news sent back from the entrance became worse and worse. Another news came to them. Traitors had started to attack the guards at the entrance. This news was like an exploding bomb, making them dizzy. They were enraged. There were traitors in their organization who didn't care about the future of the human clan. It was unimaginable to them. They couldn't believe that someone could be that insane. However, this news was true. They were too furious to keep their mind sound. After a moment of silence, they woke up in a freezing atmosphere, showing their despair. Another message came. They couldn't keep the entrance any longer. Everybody was flurried. It seemed like they had a bucket of cold water poured all over their body from top to toe, which extinguished their flame of hope completely. Miss Xia is still confined. Before Master left, she advised that if something unexpected happened, we had to release her and let her chair. The Pure Land's elder had stayed quiet for a while, but he recalled something all of a sudden and asked the guards to release Xia Xinyan and bring her here. Since they had lost the ones they trusted, everybody was shaken. They were dispirited to find out that their brains seemed insufficient at this moment and that they couldn't make up their minds. They quarreled with each other, mocking and scolding the traitors and rebels while sneering, but they couldn't give out an effective solution. Shortly, Xia Xinyan came out of her prison. She got the situation immediately from the others. Her face was as cold as water, frowning as she knew this situation was hard to resolve. What should we do now? Master told us that if anything happens, you should chair. The elder of the Pure Land looked at her with an ash-gray hue covering his face. We should go to the other gateway of the secret domain and cross that chaotic abyss to seek the chance to survive. Xia Xinyan pondered for a while and then said with a sorrowful face. Afterward, the people became grim, looking even more hopeless than before. Impossible! An elder of the Devil Valley jolted up from his seat, his face malicious. Are you telling us to die? Our master has told us that no matter what happens, we can't go through that entrance. He said that no one would survive there. Once we enter that door, we will have to die. More people of the Spirit Treasure Sect and the Martial Spirit Palace were screaming to show their objection. Xia Xinyan didn't change her visage. She only had a painful struggle reflecting on her jade-like face. I have only that solution. My teacher also said that the other entrance of the secret domain hides a tremendous danger. She wasn't sure that she could cross that entrance. However, the most important thing is that she didn't know where that entrance led to. Perhaps it's a dead end. But we have no other option now. Our force isn't enough to resist the pagans. If you stay, you will die or become slaves. As far as I know, members of the 7 ancient factions will be killed instantly. You won't have the chance to even become a slave to them. Is that what you want? The entire hall fell into silence. It was true. People who stayed would be killed mercilessly. They would never have a chance to survive. However, after they had arrived in the Ice and Fire's secret domain, leaders of the 7 ancient factions had surveyed that area. They all agreed that it was a dead road. They had no means to predict what stayed in there or where it would lead. Everybody would feel fear instinctively towards unknown dangers. It was a part of the human nature. That was why they had never thought about leaving through the other gateway. The Pure Land will go to that gateway first. We'll move now. As Xia Xinyan saw them staying silent, she knew she couldn't convince them all. She pondered for a while and then let out a low shout to urge her people. Then, Xia Xinyan took the lead and yelled, "All Xia family soldiers follow me." We will go to the entrance of the secret domain. We hope we will find a way to survive. If you want to stay, we don't care. I hope the 5 alien tribes would be merciful enough to spare your life." After those words, she walked away determinedly. Members of the Xia family from the Endless Sea scattered to gather their family members and followed Xia Xianyan. Elders of the Pure Land discussed secretly, then ordered their disciples to prepare. Finally, they decided to go towards the other gateway and seek a chance of survival. Elders of the Devil Valley, Martial Spirit Palace, Spirit Treasure Sect, and the Heaven Temple hadn't decided yet. They were hesitant, considering the best solution. Soon, they had another message from the main entrance. They had lost the entrance. The pagans were coming. This news had cut off the thought of survival in their hearts. Abruptly, they knew what to do now despite their hesitation. If they stayed, they had to die. It was no doubt. But if they went to that unpredictable gateway, perhaps, they could survive. Under this impasse, they finally made up their mind. They didn't hesitate anymore and shouted, then took their people to run towards the other gateway of the secret domain. In the ice and fire secret domain, flows of people started to move, stomping on the ice and lava everywhere, heading to an unknown future. They all felt heavy and dispirited. 6 hours later, pagans started to appear in the entrance. With the support from the insiders, the guards at the entrance were all killed. After the 5 great alien tribes arrived, all those who resisted were cleaned up effortlessly. To survive, they had to surrender. Pagans then planted the restrictions on them or controlled their families. Of course, some were heartless enough to want to seek riches and honor through the alien tribes. Soon, Bao Ao, Jieji, Kanti, Comoros, and Corpse Chief appeared in the ice and fire secret domain. A strange light sparkled in Bao Ao's eyes, extending ahead of them as if he wanted to survey something. After a while, he spoke up. "It's strange. There are no living people here. Where are the rest of the members of the 7 ancient factions?" A senile old man came over with a servile countenance. "Seems like they went to another secret gateway. That place is perilous. If they go there, only death awaits them." Bao Ao nodded, then casually clapped his hands. The old man's head exploded, blood and brains splashing everywhere. Crap. He knew they still have another secret entrance, but he didn't report us. Damn it. Members of the human clan shut their mouths, not daring to utter any word. They stayed silent like the dead. "We're here to slaughter. We also want to collect souls. Even if they die, we shouldn't let them die in vain." Comoros said maliciously. "We will go there now to see if we can take anything." His written charm scripture could absorb souls directly. His active participation was to collect soul energy to revive the patriarch of their Ghostmark clan. Seeing the good nutrients about to perish, he felt bad and irritated. Bao Ao nodded in agreement. "Let's go." After 1 hour, Bao Ao's group reached a place where energy was extremely chaotic. There were caves cut through space, sparkling with numerous colorful lights. Those beams of light weaved with each other like gossamer. However, they couldn't see the inside of the caves. No human being was there. Damn it. Comoros got angry. The human clan has so many trashes. They didn't report us this situation. F***ck them. We've made a wrong step. We gathered here for nothing. Bao Ao didn't say anything, while Jieji also kept silent. Kanti, Corpse Chief, and the creature of the Dark Clan in the dim halo were surveying the entrance quietly. They were trying to sense the disorderly energy, as if they wanted to find something. After a while, the creature staying inside the dim halo protected by the 3 Yama King Abi, Haitian, and Hades sent its soul fluctuation to Yama King Abi. Yama King Abi slightly changed his visage. He shook his head and waved his hand. "We should go. Our Dark Clan won't enter that door. If you are interested in it, you can go. It's the chaotic space basin. If you want to die, you can go there and play. Our ancient Bao family won't join you." Bao Ao spoke after a while. He waved his hand with a dark face, signaling Gu De Si to leave. "Haha. I'm not interested in it. I'm going to find Shi Yan and have a little chit-chat with him. If you want to go there, I give you my blessings." Jieji glared at Comoros, who was still hesitant. He laughed and then took his men out of the place. Chapter 678, Soul Fragments. Chapter 678, Soul Fragments. The Dark Clan and the Demon Clan left. Corpse Chief of the Corpse Clan and Candy of the Dark Spirit Clan didn't linger either. They got out of the place quietly, leaving Kamaros of the Ghostmark Clan and his fellows there. Waiting until all the other tribes had left, Kamaros's tense face relaxed. He released his soul consciousness, sensing around for a while. He found that all of the other 4 tribes had left the ice and fire secret domain. A green light shot out from his eyes as strange, gloomy cries emitted from his sleeves. The written charm scripture, the Halidom of the Ghostmark Clan, flew out. Under his control, it flew towards the entrance of the secret domain. Kamaros sat down cross-legged, pouring his flows of pure soul consciousness into it. Shortly, the scripture diffused many beams of thick mysterious chi that seemed to never disperse. The written charm scripture flew into the entrance of the secret domain, slowly moving forward in the matrix of the colorful lights. If one observed, they could see many blocks of meat floating deep inside that unpredictable entrance. In a deeper place, soul fragments bobbed here and there. It seemed that they didn't scatter according to natural principles. Kamaros was struck with joy, his eyes bright as stars. He started manipulating the written charm scripture even more carefully. The written charm scripture was like a giant mouth that would never feel tired. In that matrix of light, it was devouring the soul fragments, entering deeper into the place. The further it went, the more powerful the soul fragments were. Soul fragments in this entrance belonged to warriors with strong soul energy and profound realm. That area was bizarre, as if it could change the principles of heaven and earth. It could preserve the soul fragments, making them wander around the place eternally. They roamed around and never vanished. Magical symbols of the written charm scripture sparkled one after another, indicating that they had gained the energy from the soul fragments. The written charm scripture gathered more and more soul energy, while Kamaros felt joyful receiving the response from the scripture. He was surprised on finding some mighty soul fragments deep in the entrance. The energy inside wasn't less than the soul of a true god realm warrior. Kamaros was struck. He got it immediately, shivering while sitting on the ground. Those were just the soul fragments, but they weren't weaker than the true god realm warriors. How strong that soul was when the warrior was alive. King God Realm. As this thought flashed through his head, Kamaros wanted to swing his arms and shout. When the time came, nothing could stop it. He suddenly got to know that people who had gone through this secret entrance weren't only the low-realm human warriors hiding in the ice and fire secret domain. At some point far in the past, some imposing existences had entered this place and buried their bodies there as well. Due to the existence of the strange field that went against nature's orders, the fragments of their powerful souls hadn't vanished yet, staying deep inside the entrance. Only a special divine weapon like the written charm scripture could enter that chaotic space basin to collect the soul fragments, which could help repair the damage to the written charm scripture and revive their patriarch from the center of the ancient sacrificial altar. Kamaros felt like he had drunk ice-cold water on a burning hot day. He felt refreshed, as if his pores were filled with joy. He was shaking in thrill. He had a premonition that not long afterward, he would be able to rebuild the soul of the Ghostmark clan's patriarch and revive him from the written charm scripture. How long had it been? It had been so long that he had almost forgotten the figure and the imposing power of his patriarch. If he hadn't used all of his energy to save the tribe, the Ghostmark clan would have soon vanished into the written charm scripture. His patriarch had used his power, and he didn't even regret that he would have to scatter his god soul to preserve the bloodline of the Ghostmark clan. The great, mighty patriarch of the Ghostmark clan had always been in the hearts of the Ghostmark clan's clansmen. They would never forget him. As soon as they had left the written charm scripture, they had pledged to resurrect their patriarch at any cost, as long as he could be revived. Kamaros's face was cold. Malicious light sparkled from his eyes as he was calculating something. Among the 5 tribes, the Ghostmark clan was the weakest. Being the sage of the Ghostmark clan, he was mocked and disdained very often. Bao Ao and the other leaders wouldn't give him any face at all. It was all because the Ghostmark clan's force was weak. After so many years of being consumed continually, they had a significant loss that couldn't be recovered shortly. And that brat Shuryen. Komaros smiled fiendishly. So many resentments and sorrows vanished when he knew his patriarch would return soon. They had been waiting in sorrow for so long. Now, it was the time to receive what they deserved. He almost shouted so that everyone could know that the Ghostmark clan, the strong force that had its name known everywhere, was about to rise again. Crack, crack, crack. Suddenly, sounds of impact echoed from the written charm scripture. Komaros seemed to have been hit, spitting a mouthful blood. He became distressed. The written charm scripture had entered too deep, and he couldn't see it for a long time. At this moment, he could only use the soul connection to feel its location. Komaros recognized that the written charm scripture seemed to have encountered something formidable in that chaotic space basin. It could be a formation created naturally, or something strange that could make the written charm scripture shiver in fear. Komaros hesitated for only 1 second. He decided quickly and retrieved the written charm scripture using his feeble soul connection with it. As soon as the written charm scripture got his thought, it returned to him, following the old track. After 1 hour, the written charm scripture fell into his palm from the entrance of the secret domain. All the ghostly symbols and words of the Ghostmark clan became lively like snakes crawling. Waves of strong mysterious energy rippled from the scripture, hitting his soul. His body and soul got minor damage, but Komaros didn't care about his body, releasing the soul to sense for a while. He couldn't press his joy, facing the sky and laughing contentedly. Hot tears rolled down his face, without him knowing it. Patriarch, you're about to come back to life. Little Komaros had to wait for you for too long. Komaros cried and laughed at the same time, as if he were mentally ill. Next to the ancient tree, Bao Ao looked at the magic mirror floating above his head. A smile filled his face. The magic mirror was showing the city center where Shuryen was staying. Bao Ao could see every face of the human clan's hotshots. That kid's good. I didn't think that he could kill Lin Ming's team. Haha. It's beyond our estimation. Interesting, really interesting. Jie glared at the mirror and then laughed. Seems like we don't need to hurry. Yeah. First, we should send some men to kill the human clan members that escaped that area. After we clean them up, we will continue. We aren't in a rush. Bao Ao smiled warmly, turning around to order his people. Bo Rua, good to see, you two take our men and check the entire perpetual night forest. When you meet human beings, kill them all. Bo Rua smiled deliberately. She was riding a level 8 beast, holding a little girl in her lap. She smacked the girl and then chuckled. Yes, sir. Gudisi and Bo Ro didn't talk much, riding their giant beasts and flying away like masses of black clouds. Jietji was surprised for a while, then hastened to assign his soldiers. Kumu. You fool, why don't you move your A*S now? If you're late, we will have nothing to harvest. A group of Demon Clan's clansmen standing behind Jiaji in black armor immediately rode their beasts, flying away. Kanti of the Dark Spirit clan didn't say anything, sending a thought to his people. Shortly, the Dead Soul's evil lair appeared above an area where many human beings were running for their lives. Dark green tentacles extended from the evil lair, dragging those people. They were the members of the Aok family. Bai Zhenseng could only watch the tentacles of the Dead Soul's evil lair. He had no choice but to try dodging them all, trying to make a way to the edge of the perpetual night forest. Corpse Chief of the Corpse Clan also ordered his members. Get underground and collect the corpses. Members of the Corpse Clan, except for Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea, started to get into the ground, disappearing shortly. Komaros hasn't come out yet. I think he does want something. Jieji laughed evilly. He doesn't want to live anymore, I guess. No need to mention him. Even King God Realm experts have to die on entering that place. Never mind him. We should visit Shuryen. When he gets out, he will find us. Bao Ao frowned as he disdained the Ghostmark clan. In his eyes, this tribe was so weak that it wasn't worth his attention. How about you? Jieji looked at the Dark Clan and the dim halo. Apparently, A creature was staying inside that dim halo protected by Yama Kings Abi, Haitian, and Hades. It seemed that creature didn't have a body, it existed in a mysterious soul form. Even he and Bao Ao couldn't see how strong that one was. They could only know that it had a strange living aura and the Dark Clan's aura. However, its energy fluctuation was something really special they had never seen before. Jieji and Bao Ao were a little bit afraid of that creature. "We'll go to the city where the human clan gathers," said Yama King Abi faintly. Jieji nodded. He and Bao Ao exchanged looks, then slowly soared up into the sky. They drifted like two clusters of cotton clouds, moving towards Shuryan City. Corpse Chief and Candy followed them closely, not waiting for Kamaros. In their hearts, they didn't really appreciate the Ghostmark clan and didn't treat Kamaros like someone at their level. Not long after they had left, the ancient tree emitted energy waves, and Kamaros stepped out with a bright face. Strange gray clouds floated in his eyes. They were made of the extremely thick mysterious Inchi, which carried a peculiar power. Kamaros's aura had a total change. Although he stood still on the spot, the heaven and earth energy rolled towards him as if it were attracted by something. He was in the true God realm, but he only had 1/3 of his energy remaining when he got out of the confinement. Finally, he had restored it fully. Confidence came back to him, changing his bearing with it. Chapter 679. Drink. Chapter 679. Drink. City Center. Human Clan, Winged Clan, Dark Devil Clan, and even the Monster Clan were all busy. Under the arrangement of Yangzhu's team, people who were allowed to get into the city had submitted the materials to supplement the barriers, formations, and restrictions. Rare and precious materials submitted were arranged and distributed properly into the formations. At this moment, the city center became hustling and bustling. The cheers and compliments of women resounded continually. People who were allowed to enter the city felt lucky, as they were still alive after a big catastrophe. They followed Yang Zhuo's orders obediently. Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao had returned. The Yang family's traitors were all killed. Yang Tian Emperor didn't hate them for leaving the family, but he hated them because they had betrayed the Yangs. They had enticed the others to make them leave, promising them something good from the Pure Land and Martial Spirit Palace. The ringleaders of this plan were Feng Xiao of Devil Valley and Shui Mu of Pure Land. They had used power and position to make Shenlin and Dong Ji follow them. These two didn't care about the friendship they had with the Yangs and decided to attack them. In Yang Tian Emperor's eyes, these people were worth 10,000 death sentences. So, they were all dead now. Yuro and Yi Tianmo were in the true God realm after using the Creator's divine pond. When they came back with high spirits, they felt contented on seeing everybody safe and sound. In this chaotic time, following an imposing and wise leader was their luck. And luckily, Shuryan was such a leader. Bing Qingtong, Long Danqing, Han Shui, and Shuang Yuju stayed in the city center, gazing at Shuryan as if they were afraid that he would do something lustful. They all had upset eyes. Currently, there were hundreds of beauties in the city. Those women acted like they had taken aphrodisiac. When they saw Shuryan, they threw him flirty glances, revealing their most prominent features, as if they hated that they couldn't lay him on his back and jump on him. In this area, only depending on the strong could help them live longer. Those women understood this principle well. In their thoughts, if they could have a night with Shuryan, their lives would be secured, and they wouldn't need to worry about the pagans anymore. They had used all of their tricks. As long as they saw Shuryan, they would become enthusiastic, making the other men glare with jealousy. Shuryan didn't have much free time. He observed for a while and then sat down on the round platform in the center of the city. He started to concentrate his mind. The essence chi of Lin Mang and Nia Rua was too much. The energy of the two true God realm experts rolled torrentially into his acupuncture points, making them swollen and painful. While the essence chi was refined, he had to bear painful torture with a grimace. Fortunately, he had found the solution. Bing Qingtong, Han Shui, Long Danqing, and Shuang Yuju were all here. When he couldn't resist the violent surging negative force, just with a wink, the 4 beautiful snow ice flowers would help him vent out his lustful desire. That was why he didn't worry that the negative energy would turn around and attack him. At the same time, the 4 snow flowers would receive significant benefits from him. As they had just entered the true God realm, they hadn't accumulated enough energy. It would take them at least 10 years more to gather enough essence chi to reach the threshold of the next realm. Shi Yan had helped them take a big step forward. The overflowing massive, mysterious energy had been distributed to the 4 snow flowers and Longju. The abundant remaining energy had improved his entire body to an unimaginable level. Even his star martial spirit had gained a great benefit from the mysterious energy. The essence chi ancient tree in his abdomen had all of its branches turned as translucent as jade, filled with condensed essence chi. He just needed another time of recognition to enter the true God realm. He had made up his mind. After things were done here, he would enter the Creator's divine pond right away to leap into the true God realm. Under people's efforts, formations, barriers, and restrictions everywhere in the city restored their functions. Even the collapsed outer city now had many ugly dunes of soil jutted here and there after receiving the energy. When Shi Yan descended from the round platform, he found that it was good to have many people working together. Everything worked out well. He didn't see anything that made him worried. At that moment, Yunhao and Yuan Jiang came close to him with grim countenances. They told him that the ice and fire's secret domain had fallen. This news didn't surprise him much. Since he knew the pagans had controlled the entrance, he could predict the situation. Shi Yan was still calm, just arching his brows. How many of your people are staying in there? Several thousand. Yunhao smiled miserably. Low realm warriors or the families of the elders. They aren't capable of defending themselves. Yuan Jiang also wore a grim face as his heart was filled with worries. We have no solution. Shi Yan kept silent for a while and then sighed. Press down your grief. Perhaps they were all killed. I can't help you. If you had stayed in the city center right at the beginning, it wouldn't have been that terrible. Yunhao and Yuan Jiang were dispirited. They knew their assumptions were wrong, as they had put the trust in Lin Meng's team, which resulted in several thousands of their disciples burying themselves altogether. Shi Yan tried to comfort them for a while. Next, he released his soul consciousness to control the utmost 8 purgatory city and reorder the chaotic forces to wait for the next attack. After 1 hour of quietness, 2 gray cotton masses of clouds drifted towards them from the horizon, appearing outside the city center. After a while, Corpse Chief, Corpse Mount, and Corpse Sea, the Dark Clan, and Kanti also showed themselves, standing together with Bao Ao and Jiaji. All human beings in the city center felt tense instantly, their faces changing drastically. Everybody knew their responsibility as they started preparing discreetly. Haha, we meet again. You aren't ordinary at all. You could defeat the 7 ancient factions, causing them a great loss. Bao Ao rose his voice and laughed. Little buddy, won't you come out to see your friends? Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea standing next to Corpse Chief also felt nervous, gazing at the city center. Don't go there. Yang Tian Emperor shouted. Di Shan, Li Zhengrong, and Bing Qing Tong started to ask him not to leave the city center. He was the soul of the city center. If the city lost its soul, it couldn't generate its most powerful attacks or defense. They were afraid that the pagans were just trying to entice Shi Yan. The moment he got out of the city, they would kill him immediately. After that, they would demolish the city and extinguish the light of human clan. Shi Yan frowned then nodded. I understand. Then he turned into a beam of dim light, gliding above the wall, reaching the place where the disorderly energy of the utmost 8 purgatory city was hovering. He showed himself, smiling to Bao Ao's group. Hello. I wonder what you want to advise me for you to have traveled this far? I'm sorry, but the city's a mess right now. Forgive me for not inviting you to visit the city. If you want to find me for a drink, can we have it outside? Haha, good kid. I like you. Jia Ji patted his thigh, his eyes bright. Right when he finished, he disappeared into thin air. A moment later, Jia Ji appeared in the center of the utmost 8 purgatory city, as if he didn't care he was in the middle of danger. Jugs of garnet wine floated one by one in front of him. When he tore the seal, the enchanting smell of wine permeated the place, making people drunk. Come here. Come here. We should drink first. We won't talk any business. Jiaji extending his arm, and 3 jugs of wine flew towards Shiryan. Shiryan's cold face cracked a smile. All right. He took 1 step forward, as if he didn't know that dangers and the other alien tribes were waiting for the perfect chance to kill him. He walked until he was 3 meters away from Jiaji. 10 jugs of wine floated in the air between them. Each jug was as big as a jar of rice, emitting the intoxicating fragrance of good wine. Shiryan didn't wait for Jiaji to talk more. He grabbed a jug and drank it. In front of everybody, he faced up the sky to drink the liquor. His Adam's apple moved as he gulped audibly. At this moment, he looked like a boorish fella who didn't know he was in danger. Jiaji was startled. He didn't think that this human kid could have such guts. He watched the young man with great interest. Gulp. Gulp. Shiryan didn't say anything and just slugged like a cow drinking water. After around 10 seconds, he had finished a whole jug of wine. Shiryan bottomed up his bottle and talked to Jiaji, who was standing opposite to him. I didn't spill a drop. I didn't disappoint your good wine and goodwill, right? Jiaji beamed a smile, which then broadened into a wild laughter. Good. Enough heroic spirit. Haha, you kid, you're too bad. I like it. Pausing for a while, Jiaji stopped laughing, looking at him with a serious face. You're human and I'm a demon. Shouldn't you be afraid that I would poison your wine to kill you? Shiryan cleaned the trickle of wine on the corner of his mouth and then laughed loudly. Oh yeah, I should. However, I've heard that the demon clan is always upright. You will never use shortcuts or wicked plans to deal with the enemies. That's why I dared to drink the wine. Arg, if Kamaros gave me this bottle, I would never touch even a drop. Jiaji patted his thigh, his smile broader. He felt quite good when Shiryan was servile to him. Good. Straightforward enough. I like you. Then, Jiaji took a bottle and gulped right in front of Shiryan. He had no wave of energy surging around him, as if he hadn't put up any guard. Kill him. Kill him quickly. Many people in the city let out low shouts with great hope in their eyes. They all saw that Jiaji had no aura or waves of surging energy on his body, as if he weren't taking any precautions. If Shiryan attacked him now, at least, he could cause him to struggle or get hurt a little bit. Shut up. Yang Tian Emperor harumphed, glaring at those people. Most of them were the ones that had agreed to enter the city, the members of the 7 ancient factions and some small forces. They weren't too loyal, and their discrimination towards the alien tribes was deep. Yang Tian Emperor rolled his eyes while the other kept their mouths shut. They bowed down and didn't dare to say anything. Drink, drink. Bao Ao laughed for a while and then came to them. He casually grabbed Jiaji's good wine and then slugged. Just like Jiaji, he was relaxed as if he were visiting his friend's house. The other couldn't sense the feeling of daggers being drawn in the scene at all. Chapter 680. Demon Testing Needle. Chapter 680. Demon Testing Needle. Shiryan, Bao Ao, and Jiaji stood in the center of the utmost 8 purgatory city and drank as if they didn't see anyone else. The human clan in the city, along with the corpse clan, dark clan, and dark spirit clan outside the city, were all stunned, looking at the 3 of them drinking. 10 strong liquor jugs were drunk, and not even a single drop was spilled. We've finished Jiaji's wine, so shall we try mine? Bao Ao threw the empty bottle away, smiling brightly while looking at Shiryan. Shiryan was surprised, nodded, and then smiled. We shouldn't consider one side and neglect the other side. You are my guest. We will do as you wish. Good. Bao Ao roared and then swung his left hand. 10 new jugs of wine lined up as a special fragrance of liquor permeated the area. Shiryan didn't hesitate much. He grabbed a jug and drank crazily in front of everybody. Strong liquor flowed down his throat, blending with Jiaji's good wine in his stomach. When the 2 different liquors touched each other, it raised a furious heat in his internal organs. Shiryan was struck as a streak of pain appeared in between his eyebrows. The blood in each of his vessels was boiling up, burning his entire body. Bao Ao and Jie didn't drink immediately. They were gazing at Shi Yan without blinking as a strange light flared in their eyes. At that moment, Shi Yan's body turned pink entirely. Two faint flames emitted from his nostrils, which looked really terrifying. It seemed that he didn't feel pain. Under the attentive looks of the headmasters of the two ancient demon families, he pressed down the turbulence in his stomach and continued drinking, as if he didn't know about the change of his body. Bao Ao and Jie studied him. Their eyes gradually brightened, as a divine light radiated immensely. After a long while, Bao Ao and Jie exchanged looks. However, they didn't say anything but continued drinking. They looked a little bit strange, as if they had some deep thought in their heads. Is he crazy? Why is he drinking with the demon clan? In the city, Long Ying's small face was filled with an inexplicable surprise. She shook her head as she couldn't figure it out. She thought that Shi Yan was being stupid. Many people thought the same, but they didn't dare to utter their opinions. Since Yang Tian emperors were raking through them as if he would kill them immediately if they dared to show their discontentment. They just bit their lips to prevent their tongues from slipping. Outside the city, Kanti and Corpse Chief, together with the three Yama kings Abi, Haitian, and Hades, kept silent as they were allowing Bao Ao and Jie to act strangely. They just frowned, looking at Shi Yan. It seemed they had established a secret agreement with Bao Ao. They knew what the others were doing, so they didn't hasten to take action. Corpse Mount and Corpse C stood next to Corpse Chief. The two of them had intelligence and the inheritance of their clan. As their power grew, they weren't dull anymore. After watching for a while, Corpse Mount asked, "Master, is he okay?" Corpse Chief was sitting on a massive coffin. He looked like a 10,000-year ancient mummy in the deep forest, with fur grown all over his body. His fingernails were 1 meter long. Corpse Chief glared at Corpse Mount and Corpse C, then shifted his look to Shi Yan, who was still drinking. He spoke up with his unique strident voice. "No wonder why you could befriend with him. This human isn't like the others. If the human clan's members are like him, we don't need to chase them to the dead end." Corpse Mount and Corpse C didn't understand much, still looking at their master with surprise. Corpse Chief didn't explain further. Shi Yan felt so hot inside as if his blood was burning. Mist diffused from his body, actually containing alcohol. He suddenly felt the mark on his forehead burning scorchingly. As the heat was burdening him, a strange energy generated from his boiling blood started to gather at the mark on his head. The mark he was trying to conceal became clear and uncontrollable. Shi Yan changed his face as he found that the black ribbon he used to cover his forehead was burning. Soon, this mark would be exposed. Shi Yan was worried. His blood was boiling torrentially. It seemed the blend of Jie's and Bao Ao's liquors had created a magical change in his body, burning his blood and pouring the blood chi into the mark. Shi Yan understood that Bao Ao and Jie had done something related to the mark on his forehead. Bao Ao and Jie scrutinized him, seeing the black ribbon melting on his head. Their looks became odder. "Shi Yan, come out and talk for a while. Don't worry. If Jie and I are here, no one will dare to hurt you. We should find a place and talk, okay?" As Bao Ao considered it to be the right time, he grinned warmly. Jie nodded, turning around and throwing a look at Kanti and the Dark Clan. "If anyone dares to touch you, I'll make him miserable. Don't worry. As long as Bao Ao and I are here, you will be safe." Bao Ao's and Jie's voices resounded to every corner. Yang Tian Emperor's group could hear them clear and loud in the city center. People from the city center started to advise him loudly. Yang Tian Emperor, Yunhao, Yuan Jiang, and the others were telling him not to believe in the two demons. Bing Qing Tong's group of 4 women was even more flurried. Worries flooded their hearts. Only Qi Tian Oldie, Long Zhu didn't say anything. He just frowned, his face complicated. Shi Yan was dumbstruck. He furrowed his brows, pondered for a while, and then nodded with a red face. "Let's go." He threw a look over his shoulder and then shouted coldly, "No one's allowed to leave the city." Bing Qing Tong's group wanted to jump off the city to reach him. Hearing him, They didn't dare to act rashly. When interacting with other people, women should listen to their men to give them face. They had to keep this rule even if they didn't want to do so. Bing Ching Tong's group understood it well. Although they were worried about him, they had to listen to him. They came back to their locations with worries, praying for him to be safe and sound. "Don't worry, I understand." Shiryan beamed a smile to the four women. Bao Ao and Jieji exchanged looks quietly. They left the utmost 8 purgatory city. Also, they tried to avoid the Dark Clan, the Corpse Clan, and the Dark Spirit Clan, going deep into the forest behind the city. Shiryan followed them. After they stopped, he appeared right behind them. Shiryan forced a smile while asking, "What did you give me to drink? Why do I feel as if my blood is boiling, making me dizzy?" Jieji cracked a smile, then rolled his eyes at Shiryan while scolding. "You stinky kid, don't show your contented smile to me. Bao Ao and I have treasured those jugs of wine for such a long time. Usually, we don't even dare to enjoy them. You have enraged me as you drank it all without being grateful." Bao Ao smiled and explained to him, "If you drink my and Jieji's wine separately, they will bring you a marvelous effect. But if you blend them, the effect will be stunning, you know?" Haha. Well, I shouldn't explain the details. You can enjoy and feel it slowly. Of course, normal people won't be able to stand the mix of these 2 kinds of liquors. They will explode to death. Shiryan discolored, almost jumping up from his spot. "I'm a normal human, too." "You aren't a normal human." Bao Ao and Jieji gazed at him with a serious look on their faces. "Why am I not normal? If you were a normal human being, you should have exploded to death already. Unless you were at the King God realm," Bao Ao replied seriously. His face showed that he wasn't joking. Shiryan was scared. "You have the demon clan's bloodline in your body. Otherwise, do you think you could survive until this moment?" Jieji laughed evilly. "I never expected that our demon clan could have an alien like you." Haha. "Those human beings have submitted to you, right? Not bad. Although the process is somehow beyond my expectation, the results are all right. A demon clan's kid rules the humanity." Haha, I do want to see it. "I can say that our demon clan is about to thrive again. It's destiny." Shiryan was petrified. He finally confirmed that the blood in his body belonged to demon clan's bloodline. When he saw Bao Ao the first time, he had this vague feeling. Otherwise, Bao Ao would never let him stay alive. He would have killed him shortly, instead of leaving a mark on his neck. Jieji rubbed his hands as he felt excited. He warmly patted Shiryan's shoulder. "Don't worry. As long as you belong to our clan, no matter what happens, we'll protect you." "Don't babble. First, we need to verify which branch he belongs to in our clan." Bao Ao frowned while his trembling fingers fumbled, taking out a silver needle. This silver needle was as long as a finger. With a close look, people would notice that it was hollow. The needle had some visible patterns on its body, which vaguely formed an ancient and exquisite devil formation. This demon-testing needle could distinguish branches of demon clan using blood. After so many years, the demon clan's bloodline was scattered widely, and many families had gone extinct. Many other races had their blood mixed with the demon clans that only the demon-testing needle could differentiate. "We don't need that mark anymore. I'll help you erase it." Bao Ao laughed, putting his fingertip on the mark on Shiryan's neck. Then, he gently wiped the mark away. Shiryan felt an insignificant pain in his neck. He checked and found nothing there. "Come here. Drip 1 drop of your blood, and let us check which branch you belong to." Haha. "A bold fella like you should belong to a brave and strong family." "I'm sure about it." Jieji laughed as he was so excited. Bao Ao also looked at him. Shiryan kept silent for a while and then nodded. "All right, I also want to know." Then, a drop of garnet blood flew out from his fingertip, falling onto the demon-testing needle. Chapter 681. That's how we work. Chapter 681. That's how we work. Crack! The demon-testing needle shattered. The drop of ruby blood fell, then rolled on the ground. However, it didn't seep into the ground but revolved, releasing a tremendous aura. Yan paled slightly. The drop of blood he had squeezed off his finger was the immortal blood. The imposing blood aura it carried was condensed from the enormous energy. Also, this blood was different from the blood in his body. He had condensed 10 drops of immortal blood, which wasn't as much as even 1% of the blood in his body. However, it contained a tremendous, imposing energy. He wanted to use this immortal blood to gain the acceptance of Bao Ao and Jiaji. He wanted to make a good relationship with the demon clan to protect the Yang family and his human members. The 5 alien tribes were too intimidating. If the situation weren't too harsh, he didn't want to turn his back to the 5 alien tribes and risk his life against them. If he could borrow the Force, he would never deny the chance. In his eyes, the immortal blood perhaps would be the key to connect him and Bao Ao, Jiaji. Thus, to gain the acceptance, he didn't use his blood, but a drop of the immortal blood. He could never imagine that the immortal blood drop would break the demon testing needle. This had frightened him, as he thought that perhaps he had done it the wrong way. Yan kept silent. He was discreetly urging the energy in his body to get ready in case he was attacked. He knew the reason why Bao Ao and Jiaji had treated him well and hadn't killed him yet. These two had considered him the fellow of their clan. That's why they had protected him. If he weren't the member of their clan, Yan believed that Bao Ao and Jiaji would never show him mercy. Their attack would be more furious than ever. Yan felt tense, and he was secretly prepared. If Bao Ao and Jiaji were hostile, he would run away immediately and never hesitate. In his eyes, Bao Ao and Jiaji were more dangerous than Longju. At least, they were at the third sky of True God realm. In this place, if these two attacked him, he could only run away to survive. When his energy started to move, his boiling blood was more blazing. Under the effect of the liquors, his blood seemed to be refined. They even proactively took his essence chi to turn it into immortal blood. This finding startled him more. He sensed for a while and found his blood flowing faster in his vessels, as if someone had forced it to move. Indeed, his boiling blood had a miraculous change under the effect of the wine. Yan changed his face while being alert, looking at Bao Ao and Jiaji. Bao Ao and Jiaji seemed like lightning had struck on them, standing dully on their spots. They stooped, looking at the pieces of the demon testing needle and the drop of immortal blood. They had a stunned complexion, as if someone had cast the body-fixing technique on them. Yan was also astounded. He frowned, then used his soul to urge the drop of immortal blood on the ground to get back into his body through the cut on his fingertip. Bao Ao's and Jiaji's eyes moved along with the immortal blood, seeing it entering Yan's body. The two suddenly shivered. A terrifying light radiated from their eyes, which was like real several meters long ribbons. Their dazzling line of sight fell on Yan's finger, giving him a burning pain, as if he had put his finger into a flaming liquid. Bao Ao and Jiaji still couldn't utter a word, their faces looking frightening. Light sparkled in their eyes like lines of fire. Yan didn't know about their thoughts. He discreetly stepped backward, frowned while putting up his guard. What's going on? Why did the demon testing needle get broken? Bao Ao and Jiaji trembled slightly. Their mouths twitched, as if they could finally react. They exchanged looks and retrieved the light in their eyes. Their faces looked as if they had just discovered a whole new continent. They seemed to be petrified. They wanted to say something, but didn't know how to start it, which made them clumsily funny. After a long while, Bao Ao stopped his awkward action first. He took several deep breaths, gave some dry coughs, and then said, Yan, agree with us about one thing. Come with us to this place. Jiaji looked at him with longing eyes. Yan was astounded. He pondered and then asked, so my bloodline is verified? Bao Ao and Jiaji smiled. Their thick-skinned face bloomed like a flower, nodding continually. Which branch of the demon clan? Asked Yan curiously. Come with us. You will get it naturally. Haha. We'll help you solve the problem here. We'll make the other clans withdraw. We won't disturb your place. How about that? Jiaji smiled until his eyes got as narrow as a thin line. He was smiling and begging. You have to go there. Without you, it's not good. Yan was astounded for a while. I can't leave now. I need time. He was half a step into the true God realm, so he wanted to use the Creator's divine pawn to break through the true God realm first. Then only he would think what to do next. No problem. We will wait for you outside. Yeah, we will protect you guys. Once you're done, you will leave with us. Bao Ao said generously. My men will help you defend. You don't need to worry about the stuff here. I can send my men to you to use. Jie also showed his goodwill. Shiyan felt awkward looking at these two bold leaders, but he didn't know what they wanted to do. He thought about it carefully and then nodded. Okay, after I've arranged everything, I'll go with you. Yeah, where do you want to go? You'll get to know. Don't worry. We're not going to harm you. Maybe you will have a new magical encounter, I guess. Bao Ao patted his chest affirmatively. All right, Shiyan agreed begrudgingly. What Bao Ao and Jie had offered him was too generous. He could avoid the fight with the 5 alien tribes, and, from their attitudes, Shiyan understood that they could even fight the other tribes for him. This change was inexplicable to him. All right, you should solve your stuff first. We will help you resolve the other things. Bao Ao swung his hand as if fighting against the other tribes wasn't a hard task to him. Shiyan was suspicious. However, he followed them back to the city center. Still, he didn't know what the 2 cunning demon clan's leaders wanted to do. After he got back to the city, he saw that Bao Ao and Jie were still standing there. They fiddled with the fragments of the demon testing needle in their hands. Looking at the crystal pieces, they couldn't hold their joy anymore, as if they had found a large treasure. No matter what we could have thought, we would never have thought that he belongs to that race. Haha, I didn't expect that race still has a generation of descendants. God does favor our clan. Long afterward, Bao Ao sighed, but his face was joyful. He was trembling. Who could have thought about it? Jie was also stirred up. I thought it would be super hard to enter the first demon area. Haha, with him, we have the key already. It's time for our demon clan to raise. If that race still has the bloodline and inheritance, we still have the hope of our prosperity. It's too good to be true. We should solve his problems to ease his worries. Bao Ao pondered for a while and then smiled. As long as we protect him, he could have enough time to grow in this divine great land. Jie nodded heavily. They exchanged looks and grinned, then disappeared into thin air as if they could tear space. In the next moment, Bao Ao and Jie appeared next to Corpse Chief, Kanti, and the Dark Clan. Kamaro's had appeared with changed makings. He was filled with confidence as a light sparkled radiantly in his eyes. How is it? Asked Kanti. He belongs to my demon clan, it's no doubt. Otherwise, he wouldn't return safely to the city. Haha, Bao Ao laughed and replied. Which branch of your demon clan? With the demon testing needle, I think it's easy to verify him, right? Kamaros frowned as he felt really annoyed inside. He wanted to kill that brat. But if they could prove he was one of the demon clan's members, Bao Ao and Jie would protect him, which made it hard to kill him then. Haha, which branch? Excuse us, but we can't tell you. You just need to know that he belongs to our demon clan. Bao Ao was still smiling, but his eyes were cold and sharp. Those lowly people are his servants. Jie and I have agreed that since Shiyan's our fellow, he has the right to live in the divine great land. Those people are his slaves, so they can live too. This is our opinion. What do you think? Kamaros shouted. No. When we came here, we made it clear that if he belongs to the demon clan, he can live. But those humans have to die. Corpse Chief of the Corpse Clan, Kanti of the Dark Spirit Clan, and the 3 Yama Kings of the Dark Clan all wore grimaced faces. Apparently, they didn't agree with Bao Ao and Jie's solution. If you don't agree with us, it's okay. Jie grinned fiendishly. If you want to take action, besides the human clan, you will have to deal with the demon clan too. Oh right, the monster clan is with him now as well. Are you sure you want to do this? As soon as he finished, Kamaros and Kanti paled indignantly. Rage rose in their hearts as they were gazing at Bao Ao and Jie with red eyes. That's how the demon clan works. Talk to our fists. Bao Ao rose his head arrogantly as he didn't put in mind the other's objection. If you aren't so pleased with our opinion, we can always fight. You will face humans, monsters, and us. Decide yourself. Good. I will remember that. Kamaraz clenched his jaw and then shouted. I don't believe you can keep swaggering. I want to see if you can protect him forever. Then, Kamaraz left along with his clansmen from the Ghostmark clan. People of the Corpse clan, the Dark clan, and the Dark Spirit clan coldly looked at Bao Ao and Jiaji for a while. However, they didn't choose to attack them directly. Eventually, they took their men and left. Chapter 682, A New World. Chapter 682, A New World. Shi Yan returned to the city center with a red face. He sat down immediately, his face slightly fierce. Yang Tian Emperor, Chao Qiudao, Di Shan, and Yuro gathered around him instinctively, looking at him bewilderedly. I'm all right, Shi Yan beamed a reluctant smile. It's not like what you thought. Bao Ao and Jiaji didn't hurt me. Anyway, my body is a little bit strange. I need to adjust my state for a while. Then, he closed his eyes and started to urge his blood and qi to scatter the liquor's special effect and blend it with his blood little by little. That liquor helped him condense the immortal blood. This discovery surprised him cheerily. He would never let this chance slip away. Drops of wine burned his stomach, making him redden as if he had a furnace in his body. Heat waves rippled furiously from him. Although Bing Qingtang's group was worried about him, the technique they had cultivated was the Ice Jade technique, which made it hard for them to adapt well to heat. The four women had sweat all over their bodies, so they had to step backward, standing far from Shi Yan. As Yang Tian Emperor's team didn't know what had happened or what was going on, they could only watch over him, and they didn't even care about what was happening in the world out there. In their eyes, Shi Yan being safe and sound was the most crucial matter. If he met anything unexpected, this city would be destroyed quickly. The refugees who had just entered the city didn't know anything. They all felt worried and resentful, but they didn't dare to say a word. It was the most critical time, when the pagans were still watching them as if watching their praise. Shi Yan was the owner of the city, but he seemed to not care about the situation. This made them worried about the sudden ambush of those pagan tribes. Yunhao, Yuan Jiang, Di Shan, Tian Imo, and the others were floating near the edge of the city to watch over the alien tribes, in case they made a sudden move. It happened fast, and this guarding group hadn't prepared for this situation. They were all bewildered, not knowing what was going on. The alien tribes retreated. The leaders of the Dark Clan, Corpse Clan, Dark Spirit Clan, and the Ghostmark paled as if they had swallowed flies. They took their men and left quietly. Yunhao and Yuan Jiang gawked, dropping their jaws. What? What's going on? Yunhao turned around to look at the fighting Union's hegemons standing behind him. They came from 10,000 miles away to eradicate the human clan, right? Why did they withdraw at the most critical moment? The forces the 5 great tribes had shown them was much beyond Lin Meng's 5 ancient factions. If they attacked, no one could be sure that the city would stand unharmed. Yunhao and Yuan Jiang were always tense. They had prepared well for a bloody battle. However, at this moment, the 4 tribes had left, leaving only the demon tribe, who seemed to be throwing a big party over there instead of attacking the human beings in the city. Did they still look like a furious enemy? Yunhao and Yuan Jiang felt like their brains were so small that they were unusable now. The pagans withdrew. They have withdrawn. Some leaders of the smaller forces stood on the city wall and observed. They couldn't help but shout, as if they were celebrating the new year. Their faces were filled with happiness and hope. The voices echoed in the city, giving the ones who were worried about their coming death a heavy dose of tranquilizer. They hugged each other while celebrating, as they had survived a disaster. They had thought that they would be killed tragically by the heartless pagans. However, the alien tribes had left before the 2 sides engaged in a battle. What was going on? Everybody was so happy that they were astounded. However, they were also suspicious as they didn't know what had happened. Everybody understood that the strange operation of the alien tribes was related to Shi Yan. However, he was meditating with his eyes closed. No one dared to disturb him, so no one could know what had happened. The leaders of the monster clan hovering in the sky had prepared well to fight with the alien tribes. Seeing the significant change, they were startled, as they couldn't make head or tail of it. Oh, no fighting. What did Shuryen tell the two demons? Why did they leave? Yanlong grabbed his flaming hair, but he couldn't figure it out. Ghost knows. Shuelai shook his head continually. He seemed a little bit disappointed. The energy in my body's surging. I'm prepared to kill. F***ck it. No fight. Disappointed. I'm so disappointed. Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao glared at Shuryen with great surprise. In their hearts, Shuryen had told the leaders of the demon clan something which created such a great reaction. However, they couldn't think of what had made the alien tribes withdraw. Many young people in the city were screaming and yelling happily as if they had received a new life. The heavy stone pressing on their hearts was lifted. At this moment, they vaguely thought that as long as they went with Shuryen, they would survive well in the divine Great Land, without worrying about the alien tribes. They could imagine the tragic end of those who had left. This small city was the only shelter for the human clan in the divine Great Land. Once they could get in, they could survive. If they got ejected, the alien tribes would kill them shortly. They suddenly felt so lucky that they had a wide vision to not follow the others and leave this place. After an unknown period, while people were high with the relief and happiness, Shuryen woke up. He grinned and then told them, if you guys still have energy, we need to rebuild the outer city. Yang Tian Emperor and Li Zhongrong were dumbstruck, looking at him. Demon clan's still out there, said Li Zhongrong. It's okay. I'll ask them to stay out of our sight. Shuryen stood up from the round platform, strolling towards the city wall. He talked to Bao Ao and Jie Ji, who were partying. If you guys want to drink and have fun, please move further. My people are scared of you. Haha. F***ck, stinky kid. Do we obstruct your eyes here? Jie Ji laughed and scolded him. He swung his hands. Everybody, stay away. They don't like us. We should go now. Strong warriors of the demon tribe wore black armor. They were all as cold as ice mountains, with a bloodthirsty aura, which made people be scared of them naturally. They stood up and rode their demonic beasts away under Jie Ji's yelling. Bao Ao beamed a forced smile talking to Bo Rua and Gu Desi. Tell our fellows to retreat further. Yeah, 50 miles then. Remember to drag those dead bodies with you. Sir. Bo Rua wanted to say something, but she didn't finish. Bao Ao swung his hand, talking faintly. Don't ask much. Later on, you will know what we've done today will give our demon clan a new future. Bo Rua and Gu Desi were struck. They nodded and said nothing, then took their men to leave. Many demon tribes members were skeptical. Hearing Bao Ao's words, they calmed down. Although they didn't know the real reason, they understood it was a critical matter, and they chose to believe in their headmaster's vision. Many people in the city came to the city wall, looking at the place where the demon clan was gathering. They saw that the demonic beasts the clansmen were riding had carried the dead human bodies away. Some were actually dismembering and swallowing the corpses. The horrible sounds from them sent shivers down people's spines. Some women paled, as if they were about to throw up at any moment. They could see clearly that those bodies belonged to the ones who stayed in the ice and fire secret domain, or the ones who had chosen to leave. They knew many of them, and there were some with whom they had had drinks with, or discussed martial technique together. At this moment, their acquaintances were the stiff corpses, which became the food for the beasts. At this moment, they could see clearly what awaited them if they weren't a part of the city. Perhaps they would be one of those dead bodies. There was only a wall separating them from that miserable fates. They were still alive, but their friends were dead now with incomplete bodies. This was the most tragic result they could imagine. They suddenly felt grateful to Shuryen from the bottom of their hearts. Everybody understood that without Shuryen and this city, they would have only one terrifying consequence. Even their bones wouldn't be left. A cold current diffused from the bottom of their hearts, making them shiver and melting the happiness they had just gained. Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, Li Zhongrong, Chao Qiu Dao, and Yunhao had experienced many tragic situations. They understood how cruel the reality was. The moment the others left, they could predict their fate. Hence, they weren't so surprised. However, the two ancient families of the demon clan had followed Shi Yan's words and retreated without any hesitation. This surprised them a lot. Many people stood there bewilderedly, seeing the demon clan leaving. After a while, when all the clansmen of the demon clan had left, they shifted their skeptical looks to Shi Yan, hoping the man would clarify their doubts. Under their hot gazes, Shi Yan was calm and just beamed a faint smile. Yeah, something's changed indeed. However, I can't talk much now. Haha. You just need to know that the alien tribes won't trouble us for a short time. Shi Yan knew it wasn't the right time to disclose his demon bloodline. Otherwise, people in the city would be extreme and start overthinking. He wanted to discreetly change them and make them accept the fact, which was how the tribes would live together in the future. Young Tian Emperor's team nodded and didn't chase him furthermore. We need to rebuild the city. Within 10 days, we need to restore the outer city and make it stronger. Shi Yan rose his voice until he was shouting. Pausing for a while, he added, for yourself. Everybody gladly followed him. Chapter 683, Advance Together. Chapter 683, Advance Together. A new outer city jutted out from the ground after 7 days. This new city wall was more imposing, seeming like a never-ending mountain range. Although it wasn't even, the lowest point was around 100 meters high. This radiant silver city seemed to be made of metal, standing firmly while diffusing a cold aura that never dispersed. Under the cooperation of the Human Clan, Monster Clan, Dark Devil Clan, and the Winged Clan, the new city wall seemed invincible. Carved formations decorated the wall, bringing out a tremendous energy. The day the outer city was finished, many humans felt happy as they believed that this city was their new home. They had to protect it at any cost to preserve the last piece of land of the Human Clan. As the owner of the city, Shi Yan had joined the construction from the beginning to the end. He had concentrated on carving the formation and refining the liquid steel that made the city wall more rigid than the hardest metal. Yen Long, Shui Lai, glacial armor giant alligator, nine-headed bird, and silver-winged sky wolf had used their monster forms to hit the city wall to test its endurance. Although the impact had crashed their armors, it left no cracks in the wall. The two headmasters of the demon clan had tried the defensive ability of the city wall discreetly. They were astounded to see that if they wanted to smash the city down, they would have to pay a big price. Everybody had their spirit boosted. They had survived the disaster, and they felt lucky that they made a wise decision to not leave the city. Alien tribes were still hunting humans in the perpetual night forest. People who didn't belong in the city had become their targets. After 7 days, most of the human warriors had been killed, becoming wandering ghosts under the pagan slaughter or the fertilizer for their sacrificial altar. The number of people who could survive was pathetically little. In the outer city, all formations and barriers worked well. Qitian Oldie Longju had restored half of his power. The city had Yunhao and Yuan Jiang at the second sky of True God Realm, and Di Shan, Li Zhengrong, and Yuro at the first sky of True God Realm. With this force in the city and the city's defensive ability, Shi Yan felt more determined. He believed that even if the 4 alien tribes returned and attacked his city, it wouldn't be any easy for them. Finally, he could exhale in relief. Next, he had to prepare for the big business of his realm advancement. Shi Yan called Longju and Yunhao and explained part of the secrets of the utmost 8 purgatory city. He arranged everything and then left quietly with Yang Tian Emperor. When he got out of the city, Bao Ao and Jia Ji recognized immediately. They stepped forward and asked for his opinion. Give me half a month. After that, I will go with you guys. Shi Yan told them and then took Yang Tian Emperor to the Creator's Divine Pond. Bao Ao and Jia Ji had to wait for so many years, so the period of 15 more days wasn't too long for them. They gladly agreed. Near the Creator's Divine Pond, Shi Yan and Yang Tian Emperor smiled, looking at the platform in the middle of the miraculous pond. With this pond, we can have more true God realm warriors. Not long afterward, our general competence will increase fast. Later on, even if Qin Gu Chuan, Guan Ho, and Lu Miao haven't died, they would never replace us in the human clan. Yang Tian Emperor felt relaxed as a glorious light sparkled in his eyes. Currently, the Yang family was prosperous like they had never been before, much more than when they were in the Endless Sea. Although the Yang family was the overlord of the Endless Sea, its structure was small, which was insignificant in the eyes of the experts in the divine Great Land. However, it was different today. They were in most mysterious perpetual night forest of the divine Great Land, building the main line of the human clan. Today, they were the future of the human clan. The Chao family, the Dark Devil clan, the Winged clan, the Fighting Union, and the Radiant God cult, together with the small forces, had gathered in the Yang family, which was a situation he had never dared to imagine. However, everything came true now. The Yang family had become the owner of the utmost 8 Purgatory City. All people who stayed here, no matter they belonged to the 7 alliances or the small forces, had to follow the Yang family's arrangement. The power and the force of the Yang family had leaped to a new peak they had never seen before. All of this was thanks to Shi Yan, the young man he had picked up from the quiet cloudland. Looking at Shi Yan in front of him, Yang Tian Emperor was extremely proud, thinking that bringing Shi Yan from the quiet cloudland here was the best decision he had ever made in his whole life. Great-grandpa, you should go first, Shi Yan chuckled, taking out the soul-gathering pearl. He sent the bead to the platform to release the crystal-clear soul energy. The soul-gathering pearl had collected a large amount of soul power from Ling Meng and Niarua. The soul energy it had refined was translucent and condensed. Shi Yan felt pleased on seeing it. After observing the soul energy a little bit, Shi Yan saw that it was enough for 10 warriors to enter the true God realm easily without any risks. No, I'm not hurried. Yang Tian Emperor shook his head and smiled. The 2 demons are still waiting for you. You should break through to the true God realm first. It's easy to talk with them then. Moreover, if something unexpected happens, you would already be in the true God realm, which will be a tranquilizer to the utmost 8 Purgatory City. You are more important than me. You should go first. Shi Yan was surprised. He pondered for a while and considered that it was logical. If he used the cultivation base of True God Realm to control the utmost 8 Purgatory City, he could advance the power of the formations and barriers in the city by 1 more level. This city would become tremendously strong and would better protect his people. From this point, he had a bigger value than Yang Tian Emperor. He didn't deny, smiled and said, "Then, I'll get in there first. Great-grandpa, please watch over me. I will reach the True God Realm quickly. Little Yen, you want to know how that little girl is, don't you? She has entered the chaotic space basin. I guess she is more likely to die than stay alive. Do you still want to use the immortal blood?" Yang Tian Emperor frowned. The immortal blood could see what the user's close acquaintance had experienced. As long as the other's realm was lower or equal to his, Shi Yan could use the immortal blood to know the location and current situation of that person. He hastened to enter the True God Realm also to check how Xia Xian was. Shi Yan knew what had happened in the ice and fire secret domain from Bao Ao and Jiaji. He totally agreed with Xia Xian when she resolutely decided to enter the chaotic space basin to avoid the alien slaughter. He believed that if he were in the same situation, he would have made the same decision. Xia Xian had the understanding of the martial path of a King God Realm expert. Shi Yan thought that she would be alright even if she were in the chaotic space basin. However, he was still worried about her. That's why he wanted to use the immortal blood to see her whereabouts. However, Xia Xian had reached the True God Realm, and he was just in the spirit realm. If he forced himself to process the reading, he would get hurt. Only if he reached the True God Realm would using the immortal blood vaguely show him whether Xia Xian's soul had vanished or not. To him, it was enough. Yes, I always worry about her. Haha. She took me to the Endless Sea. She took care of me well. When we were in the Endless Sea, she had never done anything to be ashamed of. I know what happened with the Xia family and Xia Qingho. However, T isn't related to her, Shi Yan smiled. Yang Tian Emperor frowned, but her grandpa. We didn't do anything to him. We don't know whether he's alive or not. I think she would be all right. Shi Yan smiled begrudgingly. He pulled himself together, then concentrated and washed away the chaotic thoughts like gossamer in his head. Young Tian Emperor wanted to say something, but he noticed Shurian's bright eyes and his calmed-down aura and knew that Shurian had started the process. Young Tian Emperor didn't talk more. He moved away and sat down cross-legged to protect Shurian. Shurian floated like a lily water pad, then slowly landed on the spiritual platform in the center of the divine pond. He sat down, then closed his eyes and let his soul sublimate. His sea of consciousness settled like the mirror of his consciousness. Light rippled from the top-grade essence crystals scattered around the place, pouring into the spiritual platform from the special ditches to supply energy for the magical formation. Yang Tian Emperor observed to see the changes of the divine pond. Heavenly Demon Mountain Range, Vault of Heaven Sea, Endless Sea. This place had the endless mountain range where many demon beasts gathered in the endless sea. It was also the forbidden area of the human clan. Strong beasts wandered here and there year-round. Even when the martial spirit palace was at their peak time, they had never dared to trespass this area. The sun, moon, and stars shone over a 10,000 meters high mountain, jutting to the sky, as if it wanted to connect the sun, moon, and stars. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, many head-splitting explosions reverberated from this grand mountain. An energy wave flooded the area, expanding everywhere from the mountain. Crack, crack, crack. Wherever the energy wave washed over, mountains collapsed one by one. This endless mountain range seemed to cave in terrifyingly. Under the shining light of sun, moon, and stars, the energy wave had peeled off the surface layer of rock, revealing the true shape of this mountain. Dazzling massive pillars with many colors shot up to the sky. Each pillar was at least several thousand meters tall, with many patterns and drawings in the old style of the monster clan. Under the bright sky, it radiated shiningly. It turned out there were so many giant pillars hiding in this endless mountain range. These pillars were scattered thickly in every corner of the heavenly demon mountain range, creating a massive ancient formation of the monster clan. After the rock layer was slid away, an inexplicably massive ancient formation was exposed at the 10,000-meter high mountain in the center of the place. This formation was supported by 7 ferocious monster hands. Each monster hand was around 10 mu. A fierce, cold aura diffused from them, while the monster scriptures drawn on the palms sparkled. 7 monster hands supported a Star of David formation, where some tiny figures of the beast were sitting. From a close look, those were the Ghost Hunter, the Devouring Gold Silkworm, and the King of Demonic Insects. At this moment, they seemed to receive some ancient inheritance of the monster clan, taking in the energy and powers from the giant pillars of the demonic formation around them. Chapter 684, The Seal of Upanishad of the Lasting Mark. Chapter 684, The Seal of Upanishad of the Lasting Mark. At the bottom of the crystal clear lake, Shurian sat neatly on the spiritual platform in the middle of the mysterious ancient formation with a calm face. His profound soul consciousness matched perfectly with the aura of this divine pond. Unknowingly, he fell into a deep dream where he felt his soul had departed his body. His consciousness bobbed without a target, such that he couldn't gather it into an effective and precise thought. Lines of thick energy reached to the center of the divine pond everywhere. Gradually, the life-original fluid and the soul-washing divine water in the spiritual platform were stirred up, and the translucent soul energy diffused. Different colored magical energies that couldn't blend with each other gathered and twirled around his body beautifully. When these significant energies fluctuated and entered his body through his pores, they gradually flowed towards his brains, accumulating bit by bit in his sea of consciousness. His host's soul was sitting neatly in the center of the sea of consciousness like his real body was doing in reality. He was calmly waiting to connect the energies with his flows of soul consciousness. The 5-colored chi started to diffuse in his sea of consciousness, blending with his flows of soul consciousness, making them float towards his host's soul. Shurian's sea of consciousness started to drain as all beams of his soul consciousness were twined around the host's soul, turning it into an illuminated object with magical soul fluctuations. The scattered energy of heaven and earth that was rolling above the platform was attracted, pouring into his host's soul like waves of the surging tide. It made his host's soul tremble. He couldn't even gather his thoughts. The host's soul kept the Upanishads of his martial spirits, which he had comprehended over the recent years. It also contained the death and life seal intent domain, the miraculous star energy, and space power. The three different powers were washed in his host's soul. After each time of washing, they were refined and cleaned, giving Shuryen a new level of cognition of the three energies' mysteries. A flame sparkled in his host's soul. This flame was bright silver, appearing like a flickering flame at his glabella, bouncing continually. It was the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring flame. Under the washing of countless types of mysterious and indescribable energies of the antiquity time, this heaven flame was dancing, slowly emerging from his glabella. In the life field of the host's soul, the three Upanishads of the death and life seal, star, and space had become three fingernail-sized dots. They were shimmering, carrying the subtle magical intent domains, which could be deemed as miracles in the universe. When a warrior was breaking to the true God realm, while he was using his host's soul to condense the God soul, all energy Upanishads he had comprehended would leap up to another level. During the process of condensing the God soul, while the energies of heaven and earth were washing the host's soul, the warrior could further understand the energies he had, making it the foundation of his true God realm. After many years of walking on the martial path, Shuryen had practiced many things. However, only the three kinds of energies, including the death and life seal, the star, and space energies, could generate the seal of Upanishad in his host's soul. This spoke of the fact that Shuryen had totally controlled these three energies, which he could use to dedicate himself to progress. Regarding the other techniques and powers, Shuryen didn't have a good grasp of their essence, so he couldn't create the Upanishad seal in his host's soul. The Upanishad seal could be deemed the most precious asset of a warrior. Once it could fuse with the God soul, it could bloom gloriously in the future, giving the warrior access to a wider universe. As long as the God soul wasn't destroyed, the power that created the seal of Upanishad would never vanish. If a warrior wanted to reincarnate, the power that created his trace of Upanishad would be imparted to his next incarnation. At the same time, the seal of Upanishad was also a basic foundation to generate the martial spirit. A strong warrior could use his bloodline to bestow his seal of Upanishad. Taking Shuryen as an example, if he could successfully condense the God soul this time, when he reached a higher realm in the future and grasped the secret of inheritance, he could impart the Upanishad of star, death and life, and space to his grandchildren, increasing the success rate of these three powers' inheritance. It was rumored that the dark magnetic noxious mist had the crystal-clear God soul of some warrior who had died a long time ago with the seal of Upanishad, the most precious attainment of that warrior in his whole life. Only the powers that could create the seal of Upanishad could fuse with the God soul, and it would never vanish when the body was destroyed. And only the seal of Upanishad could be preserved when memories faded and disappeared. Unless the life seal were eradicated, the seal of Upanishad would exist together with the life seal eternally. The generation of the Upanishad seal was mysterious. No one could understand its true principle. It was hard to sense this process under normal circumstances. Only when the warrior was breaking through a major realm, it could flash shortly. Today, Shuryen had three seals of Upanishad in his head, including the death and life, star, and space. These three seals had emerged in his host soul's brain unknowingly. Usually, a normal warrior had to understand a seal of Upanishad to the acme to step into the true God realm and condense the God soul. But Shuryen's case was different. Using the Creator's divine pond, he had got through a shortcut. If one of the three seals of Upanishad he had could be understood to the peak, he could use the Creator's divine pond and break through to the true God realm based on that Upanishad. Bingqing Tong, Han Shui, Di Shan, and Yi Tian Mo had used one kind of Upanishad seal to successfully enter the true God realm. However, Shuryen's three seals of Upanishad were miraculously balanced. His understanding of the three powers had advanced perfectly together. None of them were too profound or too weak compared to the others. So, when he was stepping in the true God realm, condensing his God soul, such an experience had been gained. There was no focus. Even the divine pawn didn't know which power it should focus on to improve one of Shuryen's Upanishad seals. And at this moment, Shuryen was bewildered that he couldn't use his soul consciousness to guide the pawn. This situation was marvelously strange. It took place quietly. The others could only see the pawn steadily urge and pour energy, soul-washing divine water, life original fluid, and crystal-clear soul energy to the spiritual platform continually. At the same time, the top-grade essence crystals scattering outside the divine pond were inundating it with energy, as if they would never stop until they could create something miraculous. The three powers of death and life, star and space were washed and improved altogether. He didn't know why and how it was happening, so he just tried to transform the three Seal of Upanishad at the same time. This had slowed down his breaking through process, much slower than Tianmo's team. To improve the three seals of Upanishad at the same time required a huge amount of energy and the power of the entire divine pond, much more than the amount spent for the previous users. Gradually, three different kinds of energies emitted from the spiritual platform. The death and life intent domain, star mysteries, and the ever-changing space appeared altogether above the platform. Shuryen was condensing his God soul. However, Yang Tian Emperor felt worried beside the divine pond. He had been walking back and forth restlessly, his face gloomy. Yang Tian Emperor had seen Li Zhengrong's group entering the true God realm. The energy waves that the divine pond had generated at that time weren't the same as in Shuryen's case now, not more than 1/10. Time flew by quietly. Unknowingly, it had been 3 months. In a normal case, this period was enough for 3 people to generate their God souls and enter the true God realm. To Shuryen, it seemed he had just begun. Yang Tian Emperor became more agitated. Day after day, his anxiety grew bigger. It seemed that the top-grade essence crystals scattered outside the pond weren't enough. Many top-grade essence crystals, which used to be as beautiful as diamonds, had turned ash-gray after their energy had been used up completely. Seeing the essence crystals being consumed massively, Yang Tian Emperor's concern grew bigger. However, he didn't know how to help Shuryen in these circumstances. Until Yi Changfeng came. After 3 months, many people in the city finally recognized the unusual situation. They asked him to go and check. Seeing Yi Changfeng, Yang Tian Emperor asked him to bring all of the essence crystals from the outer city and the city center here. Afterward, when he transported almost 10,000 pieces of essence crystal to the pond, Yang Tian Emperor and Yi Changfeng then got busy replacing the used ones. With the new energy supply, the creator's divine pond became normal. However, good things never lasted long. After 2 more months, the 3 energies of Upanishad in the spiritual platform became clearer. At the same time, cracks appeared in many corners of the divine pond. Some curves of the formation seemed to be about to explode at any minute. The creator's divine pond had been built by experts with supernatural powers and many rare materials. When those materials shattered, it meant the energy that the platform had to bear were so much that it cracked the pond. Yang Tian Emperor became edgier, but he had no solution. Even Shuryen couldn't understand the mysteries of his creator's divine pond. How could he help with this situation? He had no way to protect or repair the pond. He could only observe and try protecting Shuryen carefully. The only thing that assured his mind was that the spiritual platform was still working. There was no sign of operation failure yet. Time flew by hurriedly. After 3 more months, besides the spiritual platform floating in the middle of the creator's divine pond, the other materials that formed the exquisite formations and barriers had become the accessories for the place, with no energy fluctuating from them. It seemed that all the energy had been drawn to create Shuryen's God soul, helping him enter the true God realm. At this moment, Yang Tian Emperor could see that the creator's divine pond had been completely damaged. In this era, no one could fix it. The chance for him to break through the next realm was cut off accidentally. Yang Tian Emperor didn't worry about himself but Shuryen. Anyway, he felt lucky that the platform was still working. The three energies moved above the platform like three invisible giant dragons fighting with each other. Young Tian Emperor had to stay further away, as he couldn't bear the energy impact from these three powers. Time flew fast. After another 2 months, the spiritual platform started to have many hairline cracks, as if it could shatter at any minute. When young Tian Emperor felt like his heart was hung on a thread, biting his tongue anxiously, the platform suddenly quieted down. Shi Yan, who was still sitting on the platform, gradually woke up. Young Tian Emperor was struck. Joy sparkled in his eyes as he smiled dumbly. Young Tian Emperor understood that the process was quite dangerous and difficult. But in the end, Shi Yan succeeded. His god soul had been created. Chapter 685, The Three-Tiered Soul Sacrificial Altar. Chapter 685, The Three-Tiered Soul Sacrificial Altar. Shi Yan woke up leisurely. As soon as he opened his eyes, he was stunned, his face strange. The Creator's divine pond had been demolished. The spiritual platform and the materials that built the divine pond seemed to have exploded, leaving only dozen meters wide, pitch black, deep hole right where the magical formation of the pond was carved. Water immediately filled that pond. Shi Yan scanned the place. He found that all the top-grade essence crystals had turned into ordinary stones. They had no energy surging or any spiritual qi. Yang Tian Emperor stood by the large pothole. He looked distressed, with bloodshot eyes, as if he hadn't slept for several hundred days. He wasn't in high spirits either. After a glance, Shi Yan stopped checking around and analyzed his own body. Astonishment filled his face constantly, as if he had found something miraculous. He looked dumbstruck. Big changes had happened in his head. His sea of consciousness had expanded by 5 times. Waves rippled in his brain. Each flow of his soul consciousness was now a beam of glorious light. They sparkled radiantly with pure soul consciousness energy fluctuating. His vast sea of consciousness started to surge according to some rules of nature. Flows of soul consciousness turned into seawater of the sea of consciousness, as if they could create a miraculous connection with his tendons and vessels, giving him a clear change of essence qi in his body. Quieting down his mind, he surveyed his body. A joy that he couldn't press down flowed through his entire body. His sea of consciousness and the essence qi ancient tree had been connected. Flows of soul consciousness could run to the essence qi ancient tree in his stomach through his vessels and tendons, which helped him control his essence qi and distribute it to his vessels to bring out his supernatural powers. This was a new concept he had never known before. In the spirit realm, whenever he wanted to urge the essence qi in his body, he had to send his soul consciousness to his host soul, which sent the waves of consciousness that ordered to gather the essence qi. After that, with the transportation through special vessels and tendons, he could carry out the effective martial techniques. However, it was different now. Flows of his soul consciousness could connect the vessels and the essence qi ancient tree. When his thought fell into the sea of consciousness like just a small ripple, it could immediately urge the energy in his body. This reaction speed was much faster than before. In other words, he had another faster and more precise way to control the essence qi. But it wasn't the only change in his head. A triangular altar floated above his sea of consciousness. It wasn't a real entity, trembling unsteadily. This was made of many beams and spots of light, which stored the mysterious of life and death intent domain, star, and space. The distinctive surging energy of these 3 powers was unique and mysterious. Floating atop the altar made of the powers of death and life intent domain, star, and space was the God Soul. The God Soul didn't look like Shi Yan's himself, but more like a chaotic liquid flame. This translucent fluid was murmuring quietly above the altar. Observing for a while, Shi Yan found that the altar had more than 1 tier. It had 3 tiers. The bottom was his vast sea of consciousness. The middle tier stored the mysteries of death and life, star, and space, where these 3 powers formed a triangle. Special energy waves rippled and resonated with his God Soul from this tier. Floating atop the altar was the unshaped flame-like God Soul, which was constantly releasing the soul energy. The Sea of Consciousness, Upanishads of Power, and the God Soul had formed the altar. The Sea of Consciousness was the largest part that established the foundation. Upanishads of Power were in the middle, and the fist-sized God Soul topped them like a liquid flame. As he tried to flicker his thought, he found that his God Soul, the Power Upanishads, and his Sea of Consciousness had fused perfectly. His flow of thought wasn't hindered. As soon as it reached the tier of Upanishad, it could immediately trigger that tier of the altar to rouse the energy. Next, it would connect the Sea of Consciousness, which controlled the body to make the energy, vessels, and muscles cooperate to engage the tremendous martial techniques. The God Soul would control everything with the Power Upanishads and the Sea of Consciousness as its two assistants. When the God Soul manipulated his blood and muscles with the essence chi, he could strike a martial technique with the power from the Upanishad to have an intimidating attack. Was it the true God realm? A beam of doubt flashed in Shuryan's head. In the next moment, his spirit flew out from his body with a trace of distraction in its eyes. Swoosh, swoosh. A bright silver flame was dancing unsteadily above the Sea of Consciousness, as if it had been banished from its home, having no foothold at this moment. It was the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring flame. While he was breaking through the true God realm, he had condensed the God Soul, which had expelled this heaven flame from his host's soul. At this moment, Shuryan had the God Soul, but the flame couldn't fuse with it anymore, despite the fact that it could still connect with his God Soul. Shuryan kept silent. His thoughts crossed the God Soul, as if he was searching for something. He was trying to contact the heaven flame. After a while, his eyes brightened, and his spirit was high. The Nine Serenities' soul-devouring flame told him that when the heaven flame fused, they could be placed at the center of his three-tiered altar, becoming a new tier. The God Soul was mysterious and inexplicable, which stored the purest miracle of nature's principle. Once it was formed, it could only contain the seals of Upanishad, knowledge, and memories. It couldn't hold any other creature. Heaven flames were some sorts of living beings with a consciousness, which meant it couldn't be fused with his God Soul. If he insisted on making a fusion, it would be possible if a heaven flame were the perfect match with the seal of Upanishad he had comprehended. However, he had to erase the memory of the heaven flame to put its seal into the seal of Upanishad. This would boost the development and breakthrough of that Upanishad seal tremendously. However, the three seals of Upanishad in his God Soul weren't matched with the heaven flame's characteristics. This kind of fusion was hard to carry out. And Shuryan didn't want to erase the heaven flame's memories. A heaven flame without intellect and memories wasn't something he wanted. Perhaps the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring flame had recognized his thought, so it sent him this soul thought, giving him a win-win solution, coexisting. He would have a new sacrificial altar floating above his Sea of Consciousness, which was formed by the heaven flames. It would coexist with the tier of the Power Upanishad to nurture his God Soul. It could use his Sea of Consciousness to shelter and absorb his energy. Of course, it could provide him powers as well. This structure had the same meaning, with the heaven flames being a special Power Upanishad. However, it wouldn't be combined with the second tier of his three-tiered altar or connect perfectly with the Sea of Consciousness and the God Soul. Anyhow, they could still support each other well. Shuryan didn't follow its suggestion immediately. He decided to talk to the ice-cold flame first. He wanted to know the other flame's opinion. After the ice-cold flame received his offer, it considered for a while. Eventually, it decided that they could carry out this plan, as it would benefit both of them. The heaven flames could use his Sea of Consciousness and the energy from his blood and flesh to nurture themselves, making them stronger. Furthermore, since they didn't fuse with the God Soul, it would be easier if they wanted to leave him later. To Shuryan, when the three-tiered altar had another section made of heaven flames, he could use the power of the heaven flames. When he battled with the others, he could use them at ease. He didn't trust the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring flame much. However, he trusted the ice-cold flame more. After he got the ice-cold flame's idea, he started this plan immediately. When his thought moved, the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame turned into a sea of bright silver flame, staying in a corner of the Power Upanishad tier, floating above the sea of consciousness. The ice-cold flame and the earth flame in the blood vein ring flew out, turning into 2 small flames that entered his eyes. They flashed and then disappeared into the sea of consciousness, staying with the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. 2 flows of aura, a scorching one and an icy one, bobbed in Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. His god soul felt irritated a little bit. Later on, when the ice-cold flame and the earth flame tried to reduce their power, his god soul gradually adapted. The auras of the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame, the ice-cold flame, and the earth flame turned into 3 streams of unique energies, just like the triangular tier of Power Upanishads, which could enhance his god soul. He was sensitive enough to sense it. We still have another one. Shi Yan sent his thought to the blood vein ring. Release it. I want to confine it. The aura of the corpse vanishing flame oozed little by little from the blood vein ring. Shi Yan got this heaven flame from Qing Ming, and it hadn't been loyal to him yet. He had kept it in the blood vein ring. At this moment, when the ring loosened its confinement, the flame wanted to run away shortly. Star chain. Shi Yan's soul flickered, and his sea of consciousness murmured. The Star Upanishad in the triangle tier was urged. A crystal-clear chain that was sparkling like the stars in the sky stormed out from his heart and twined the corpse's vanishing flame, dragging it into his body. After Yun had entered the city, he had imparted the techniques related to the star execution and the flaming sun execution of the radiant god cult to Shi Yan. Now, he had the cutting edge of these forces. This star chain was the development of the Star Upanishad, which could imprison soul form beings. It was special confinement for the strange and eccentric souls of creatures. The ice-cold flame's aura diffused from his eyes. Flows of freezing air extended to the star chain, increasing its confining power. The corpse's vanishing flame couldn't wiggle. Don't fail me. I let you enter my inner sea of consciousness, which gives you face. If you don't follow me, I can make you stop struggling forever. Shi Yan's icy cold soul will entered the green corpse's vanishing flame. The star chain dragged him to the sea of consciousness. As soon as it got into the sea of consciousness, the ice-cold flame, the earth flame, and the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame swarmed over and restrained it. The corpse's vanishing flame stopped wiggling. It seemed to follow his thought, letting him do whatever he wanted. At this moment, Shi Yan put aside what was happening in the world out there, magical flames dancing in his cold eyes. Using the technique the ice-cold flame and the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame had told him, he used the sea of consciousness as the foundation and the god soul to guide and gather the energy of his body, condensing a proper place on the triangular altar for the heaven flames to rest. A new expansion, which could help both sides increase their powers, was slowly formed. In the beginning, the coarse vanishing flame had still resisted. Afterward, when he knew Shi Yan's real intentions, it felt joyful and started to cooperate with him more. It wasn't stupid. When the flame knew Shi Yan didn't want to erase its memories and just wanted to live together, it stopped struggling and proactively helped him. Chapter 686. True God Realm. Chapter 686. True God Realm. The establishment of the new altar was faster than he had expected. After 3 days, another tier of the heaven flames appeared on the triangle of the 3 powers Upanishad. The 4 heaven flames, including the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame, the ice-cold flame, the earth flame, and the corpse vanishing flame, had formed a rectangle. A strange material connected them together. It was the combination of the sea of consciousness, his blood and flesh qi, and the energy of his will. After this expansion of the altar was completed, Shi Yan could contact the 4 heaven flames easily, as they had a soul connection. He could easily urge the powers of the 4 heaven flames as he wished. The 4 heaven flames became a power Upanishad of his. Although they weren't combined with the god soul like the Upanishad of star, death and life and space, they weren't any weaker. The 4 heaven flames were satisfied with their current situation. Staying above the sea of consciousness, they could use Shi Yan's Sea of Consciousness and his vigorous aura to nurture themselves. Later on, they wouldn't need to worry that the warriors would use special tools to restrain them. If they wanted, they could fly out at any moment. At this moment, Shi Yan's breakthrough to the true God realm had come to a perfect end. He had created the God Soul. The three power Upanishads of star, death, and life and space had advanced formidably under the fierce urge of the Creator's divine pond. At the same time, they could cooperate in a perfect balance, using the coexisting form of the triangular altar. Shi Yan opened his eyes, revealing a forced smile as he saw the Creator's divine pond was just a ruin now. Great-grandpa, I'm so sorry. I can't use this shortcut for you anymore. I didn't expect that my breakthrough would create this mess. All the top-grade essence crystals, the soul-washing divine water, the life original fluid, the crystal clear soul that the soul-gathering pearl had refined, and even the star original essence crystals were consumed completely. Nothing remained there. He had absorbed all kinds of energies from the divine pond, using its destruction to create his success in building the God Soul and his power Upanishads to enter the first sky of true God realm. It's okay. As long as you are well, Yang Tian Emperor smiled, his face exhausted. Even if we don't have this pond, I believe I can break through soon. Haha, perhaps using my own comprehension to reach the new realm would help me thrive better. You shouldn't let it burden you. Shi Yan nodded. As things had accelerated to this point, he knew speaking was no help. Shi Yan, is your body all right? Yang Tian Emperor was a little bit nervous. No, it's better than ever. Haha, great-grandpa, don't worry. I've gained a marvelous benefit this time. I can understand the essence of the martial path. It's like, I have a whole new world in my reach, Shi Yan said smilingly. Yang Tian Emperor could finally ease his mind. Then, it's good. Wait a minute, I want to see if Xia Xen Yan's still alive. Shi Yan's face was complicated as he felt uneasy. A drop of ruby blood rolled from his fingertip, shining in red halo, showing its powerful, evil energy. A thought was sent to his God Soul, creating magical waves of energy, urging the power of the triangular altar. The power of space was triggered, connecting to his entire body. A light road appeared in front of him. Space distorted, and a small slit cracked open. He could see many glorious lights inside that space, making it look like a giant spider web, which hid the mysteries of the mighty space. That garnet drop of immortal blood rolled into that slit and moved for a while before shattering. At the moment the drop of blood shattered, a feeble connection stormed into his God Soul. His God Soul whispered a name, turning it into a vehement soul fluctuation, rising strongly. Shi Yan slightly paled. Another thought flickered, and another drop of his immortal blood fell into that space crack. Soon, the connection appeared again for a fraction of time before it vanished. Shi Yan dropped another drop of his immortal blood and sensed. After dropping 5 drops of immortal blood into the space slit continually, Shi Yan paled, closing his eyes and trying to sense deeper. After a while, the space slit in front of him started to close. What? Is that little girl alive? Yang Tian Emperor asked gingerly. Shi Yan nodded, furrowing his brows. Alive. I can sense a connection. However, she's in an area far away. Although I have a new cognition of the Space Upanishad, it's hard to use the immortal blood to connect with her. Seems like she's not well. I feel like she's bearing an extreme torture. Yang Tian Emperor kept silent, as he didn't know what to say. In his eyes, Xia Xen Yan wasn't worth Shi Yan's concern. Wasting 5 drops of immortal blood just to know whether she was alive or not made Yang Tian Emperor feel quite grieved. He also knew the immortal rebirth secret and had the immortal blood, too. That's why he knew how precious each drop was. At the critical moment, a drop of immortal blood could grow flesh and blood. Using it to predict someone's life was such a waste. However, he couldn't advise the young man because he used to be hurt because of love himself. He understood that love was something that caused the most extreme pain, and it was hard to reason against. Don't worry. I have my principle. I won't let my affections mess up with my mind. Falling in love is the most glorious phase of someone's life. When I meet my love, I will spend everything to keep it. But if I can't have it or I can't keep it, I won't be confounded for the rest of my life. Shi Yan smiled, looking at the old man. Great-grandpa, do you think I can't let it go? Yang Tian Emperor woke up and smiled sincerely. He knew this kid was cold-hearted, and he would never let his mind sink into troubles because of the external world. How long have I been here for? Why do I feel it's been a really long time? Shi Yan asked suddenly. Almost a year. Yang Tian Emperor forced a smile, shaking his head. Kid, when you break through the realm, you always make it faster than the others. But you were so slow in the divine pond. I wonder what had happened. Slow doesn't mean bad, Shi Yan grinned brightly. This shows I've gained good things. Much better than the others. Yang Tian Emperor got it. His eyes brightened. You. Yeah, I got better things than Dishan and Li Zhangrong. Otherwise, the pond wouldn't be destroyed, haha. Shi Yan felt pleased. Yang Tian Emperor was surprised. He also smiled, talking in a cheerful tone. Good, as long as you have gotten a good harvest, we don't need to worry anymore. Let's go. We don't need to get back to this place. A thought flashed. The earth flame released its power and opened the formation on the lake surface. Shi Yan and Yang Tian Emperor leaped up to the sky. Frowning at the lake, Shi Yan pondered for a while and then pointed downward. Space power twisted, ripping a large space crack and covering the entire lake. Shortly, the lake disappeared, leaving a 100 square miles hole under their feet. Yang Tian Emperor discolored. This performance had struck him deeply, tearing space and creating a giant hole to swallow the entire lake. Such move was worth calling it a miracle. Although the divine pond's destroyed, it still has the streaks of formation that the others could restore. Perhaps someone could do it. It would be a disaster then. There are so many great experts from the antiquity time in the divine great land at this moment. Perhaps someone could restore it completely, said Shi Yan. Yang Tian Emperor nodded. Better to be careful. I was careless thinking that no one could restore this lake besides you. That's why I didn't think much. I can't restore it, Shi Yan forced a smile. The one who built this pond was a divine grade formation master. He had 3 king god realm experts to support him. They had used countless materials to carve at least 5,000 small formations. I can't understand many formations. So of course, I can't restore them. Yang Tian Emperor was surprised. The higher realm I reach, the smaller I feel. In this life, there are so many intimidating existences. Our power isn't worth mentioning, Shi Yan forced a smile. He suddenly recalled the creature in the soul sea inside the dead soul's evil lair of the Dark Spirit clan. That year, he had taken risks using his hollow soul to enter that place and survey once. The ancient aura of that soul sea was as hard to predict as the universe. That cold evil will could smash his hollow soul as if it were killing an ant. At that moment, he thought it was something at the true God realm. However, through fighting with Long Ju, Lin Meng, and the experience he got through entering his new realm, he could confirm that that existence was beyond the concept of the true God realm. The Cold Wind Island, where the corpse god sect was based, had a space crack. Shi Yan had seen skeletons of 8,000 meters long level 10 beast, which was beheaded in one strike. The one that could kill a level 10 beast, the level that could be compared to the king god realm, how intimidating he must have been. The more he learned, the more careful he was. He would never have an arrogant thought in his mind because of his achievements, all because he understood that there were so many inexplicable existences out there. If the warriors who had escaped this continent into the outer space in the antiquity time were still alive, which realm they would be at now? Sometimes he didn't dare to think about it further. The more he thought about it, the more struggling he figured out the road ahead of him was. He felt helpless. However, on this path, he would never stop his steps. Don't think too much. Everything starts with the first step. Every strong warrior has a struggling time like us. Without making an effort, will we ever see the beautiful sights? Later, when we look back to today, we will see it valuable to our development, Yang Tian Emperor said emotionally. Shi Yan nodded and smiled. I understand. I won't let it affect me. We should go back. Yes. Ripples of space appeared in front of Shi, bringing the mysteries of space power. Shi stepped into the space ripples, disappearing shortly. In the next moment, he appeared in the city center. He had crossed 1,000 miles just with one step. The advancement of Space Upanishad had increased his speed to an unimaginable level. He could build a passage that could cross space. He could travel 1,000 miles with only one step, as easily as flipping his hands. Chapter 687. Put Down. Chapter 687. Put Down. With only one step and his soul consciousness, he could arrive at his destination easily. Shi arrived in the utmost 8 purgatory city in just a blink. After 1 year, the city he had built himself had new changes. The city center wasn't changed, but the outer city had been expanded by 3 times. The Radiant God cult, Fighting Union, and the other small forces had set up many formations and barriers. They had used their sex formation and barriers to make the city bigger and stronger. Many warriors with shabby clothing gathered and built shelters several hundred miles around the Silver City. Shi stood on the city wall of the outer city as his soul consciousness glided over those people. He found that they were also human, but they didn't belong to the group he had allowed to stay in the city. Bao Ao and Jiaji took the demon clan and left 9 months ago. They had been waiting for Shi for so long. Eventually, they couldn't help but leave and go on with their business. Li Zhongrong, Chao Qiudao, Di Shan, and Yuro came to see him at the city wall, their faces filled with sincere smiles. I met some changes in my advancement, so it took a lot of time. Anyway, I'm alright. You don't need to worry. Shi told them his situation first, not waiting for them to ask him. What's happened to those people? Arg, they are the survivors. They were lucky that they survived the pagans' hunting. Li Zhongrong frowned and explained. After you got into the Divine Pond, alien tribes hunted people in the perpetual night forest everywhere. Many people got killed, while some had left the perpetual night forest to some places far away. However, their results were also tragic. Those who were lucky enough to survive came here on their own. They want to get in the city to save their lives. Without you here, we won't let them in. Hence, they camped out there. Harumph. Those people seem to be smart, choosing this place to take shelter. Otherwise, I guess they would have been killed already, Chao Qiudao sneered. Alien tribes were hunting human clan everywhere. Only this utmost 8 purgatory city could stay away from that massacre. On one hand, this city had strong forces, and on the other hand, the demon clan and monster clan supported them, which made the other 4 clans spare this city during their hunt. Thus, those who weren't allowed to enter the city and had camped outside also survived. Alien tribes didn't target them anymore. Shi scanned them. He could see that they were living in poor conditions. Some still had open wounds. Many of them brought their families along with senile members. The survival pressure had affected them badly. They seemed to be subdued by some invisible force. Their eyes were always gloomy and distressed. Shi, Longju appeared all of a sudden, wearing a merciful face, looking at him miserably. No matter what, they are the members of the human clan. If we don't care about them, once the pagans come, they will be eradicated in just a blink. Shi frowned. He pondered for a while and then asked the others. What do you think? Old Long is right, Li Zhongrong and Chao Qiudao said in a low tone, their faces solemn. Those people had gathered there for a long time. They had spent months to beg for a slot in the city. As the others had heard a lot of their whining and begging, even a man with a steel heart couldn't help but agree with them. Many of them were old and wounded. If they didn't care, perhaps they would die sooner. All right, Shi nodded. Open another region in the outer city and let them in. Yeah, let them stay alone. Remember, don't let them enter the city center. Although they are miserable, they are to be blamed for what they've done. These people change their minds often. They had aimed at us. The city center's really important, so we can't make a mistake. If they destroy our effort, there will be no place for our regret. Okay, I will arrange this myself. Longju smiled, turning around to prepare for those people. When Bao Ao and Jiaji left, They left you a note saying that you should go to their place after you get out. They have something important they want to talk with you. Chao Chiu Dao took out a map of the Grace mainland, which had a location marked in bold red ink. Shi Yan skimmed the map, but he didn't receive it. What's the current situation? Chao Chiu Dao, Di Shan, Yuro, and Yang Tian Emperor shook their head as they felt a little bit embarrassed. You don't know? Shi Yan was surprised. We've been here, and we rarely go out. Our operation range is within the perpetual night forest. Yuro smiled tenderly and explained. Half a year ago, all alien tribes left the perpetual night forest. At this moment, only the monster clan and us stay in this forest. The alien tribes have claimed the rest of the continent. The 5 great alien tribes have divided the Grace mainland into many regions, and each of them rules an area. We feel lucky they don't come here to attack us anymore. I heard Yen Long of the Monster Clan say that the 5 alien tribes have an internal dispute. They seem to be having a war too. But I don't know the details, added Chao Chiu Dao. Human clan in the Perpetual Night Forest didn't dare to leave the Perpetual Night Forest, but the Monster Clan didn't have this restriction. Yen Long and Shui Lai, the rulers of the Monster Clan, often got out of the forest. They knew the situation of the continent out there. However, they weren't interested in this stuff, so their information wasn't clear enough. Yeah, seems like I have to go out and check the situation of the continent. Shi Yan pondered for a while and then came to the city center to prepare for his trip. Shi Yan spent 3 days in the city center to check every formation, barrier, and restriction once. He found that everything still worked well after he had left the city. There were no big issues. This relaxed his mind. He talked to Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Yuro about the mysteries and the important features of the utmost 8 Purgatory City. After he left, if something happened, they would know how to solve it. After he prepared everything properly, he left to see Bao Ao and Jia Ji of the Demon Clan. He Qing Man and Chu Yanqin came to him before he left. Their complexion looked complicated. That year, when they were still in the Endless Sea, Shi Yan had helped the Yang family to confirm their overlord position in the Endless Sea. At that time, they had an abyss between each other already. He Qing Man and Chu Yanqing had survived and left the Endless Sea. They had become Yenku's disciples, which helped their cultivation base increase fast. The 2 girls thought that it would help them shorten the distance between them and the man. However, when they met him again, Shi Yan had reached the 2nd sky of Spirit Realm. Even their teacher couldn't do anything to him. After the earth-shaking event in the Perpetual Night Forest, they had a new cognition of the fact that the distance between them had never been shortened. Quite the contrary, it was getting bigger and bigger. Shi Yan had reached the true God realm, and the 2 girls, although they were always doing their best, hadn't even reached the spirit realm yet. It seemed that they were a life away. Today, Shi Yan's position and profile had gone beyond their imagination. He would possibly become the future leader of Human Clan, with good relationships with the Monster Clan and the Demon Clan. This made them understand that no matter how hard they tried, they would never reach Shi Yan. At this moment, there were so many beautiful women in the city, and each had wished that Shi Yan would favor them, even for only one night. It was enough for them to be proud. Compared to those women, they found that they had not many advantages. The thought of being together with Shi Yan for the rest of their lives had faded away. Life was always cruel. To warriors, if the realms were too much different, it was hard to be together. Shi Yan had many companions now, which made them recognize that leaving him when he was weak had become the thing they had regretted the most. I'm surprised I can meet you guys here. How are you doing? If you need anything, just tell me. I will help you. Shi Yan talked first as he saw the 2 staying silent. No, we live well. Thank you. If you hadn't let us in, perhaps we would be dead already, He Qing Man whispered. Shi Yan nodded. Then it's good. We've known each other since we were in the Endless Sea. We're friends. It's natural if I help you, right? Shi Yan, if you meet our teacher this time, please spare her life as she had helped us before, begged Chu Yanqing. Which teacher? Wu Qin of the Endless Sea or Yan Ko? Shi Yan was surprised. Our teacher in the Endless Sea is dead. It's Yan Ko, Chu Yanqing sighed, her face dreary. Yan nodded. Yeah, if I meet Yanke, as long as she won't want to kill me, I will give you face. The two women then thanked him. Qing Man. I want to have a word with him in private. Could you? Qing bowed her head shyly. Qing Man was surprised for a while, then she left begrudgingly. Waiting until the other woman left, Qing's beautiful eyes sparkled. She stooped her blushed face, talking shyly. That year in the Endless Sea, before you left, I had told you that if you take me to the divine great land, I will be your woman. Yan was startled. Then he waved his hand generously. I was messing around. Don't mind that. Haha. I'm serious. Qing lifted her head, her beautiful eyes sparkling while looking at him. If you want me, you can come to me at any time. I'm always willing to be with you. Then, Qing blushed, running away without waiting for Yan to answer. She left an enchanting fragrance in Yan's nostrils. Yan rubbed his nose, smiling and sighing quietly. As he had experienced so many things, he wasn't so arrogant and compulsive like before. He understood that the debt of love was the most difficult debt to be paid off. When he had just entered the Endless Sea, Qing Man and Qing were the famous beauties he could never reach. They were the pearls of the sea that many young men had yearned for. At that time, if Qing Man and Qing showed him a flash of their affection, he would be touched so much that he could have cried, as he would have felt proud beyond comparison. However, Qing had humbled herself to ask for his night now. Human affairs were unpredictable and marvelous indeed. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.